Now we are.
Hi, welcome to News and Nonsense at Noon-ish. I'm Auntie aka Agreed Janfi, aka the Auntie of all Aunties, and I'm here with...
I'm Farrah, your resident Caribbean queen.
I'm Nana, aka the Black Fairy, aka Dark and Lovely.
And we are here with News and Nonsense because the world is literally going to hell, and we thought we'd bring you the news our way. We'll dig through all the news and nonsense out there to give you our take on it. We're here to help you separate the wheat from the chaff, the sap from the crap, what you need to know from what you don't need to know. Before we get into it, Nana, what do we need to do?
You need to book the like button, book it now, book it on entry, please. And as you're coming in as well, just come and say hello so that when we do roll call, there's loads of people in the chat that I can call out.
Yes, please. And Farrah, what else must they do?
What do you need to do? I don't know. You need to sign up to our membership if you have not already. If you just want to be our friend, it is £1.99. However, if you would like to be family members, then it's £4.99. I would also like you to comment. Please comment. 5 stars only. Comment. Do whatever you need to do. Don't know what else Charlie's doing normally.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Also, can I just add in now that you can listen to News and Nonsense on Spotify as well. So if you want to be in your car and you just want to like listen to us and find out your news, you can now find us on Spotify under News and Nonsense. Okay, thank you.
Lovely. Disclaimer. Yes, disclaimer. These are our opinions. We're not experts. This is the Ultimate Aunties WhatsApp group. If you want actuals and factuals, ask TLC, Google, or phone a friend. Any links we share are for you to dig deeper your own damn selves. Thank you, please.
Why did she say that like a robot?
Because I'm just on the TV. Exactly. Who's in the chat? Let's welcome people this afternoon.
Okay, who is in the chat? Who was first? It was Ashes to Ashes broke Yvonne's running streak, and then Yvonne White is in the chat. Body Gang is with us as well. Lady Lyrics is in the house. C is in the house. Yeah. Sora is in the house. Will Smith is in the house.
In the house.
If you're not going to do it properly.
In the house as well. Hello. All right, let me scroll down. Gilda is in the house as well. Sistren is in the... I swear I haven't seen Sistren in time. Welcome. And Judy P is in the house.
Yo, and Brooklyn's in the house.
Welcome everybody, and welcome to Facebook and Instagram as well. Welcome.
So, people them, what's our first story? It's in the title. We're going to give you a little bit of a breakdown of what the hell's going on. We need to protect this man at all costs. Mr. Ibrahim Traore, last week on the main show, he the American, what's his name? Who cares about his name? It was Farrah's enemy of progress because he was the front-facing revealing of the West plan to take down this African leader that's trying to take us to the promised land by force or by fire. I'm going to give there's a couple of things to watch. We're going to give some breakdowns for those of you who don't know the whole story. You're going to get a full-rounded story. Then you're going to get some insight into the protests. So basically, mass protests have erupted across Africa, and the diaspora is showing solidarity for Captain Ibrahim Traore, Burkina Faso's interim leader, following a foiled coup attempt and accusations by that US official. So demonstrators are rejecting neocolonialism and demanding African sovereignty under the rallying cry, "Hands off Africa." So I will show the first bit. This gives you an overview of what the hell is going on and who this gentleman is. Can y'all see the screen?
Yes.
Good stuff.
Supporters of Burkina Faso's military leader have called a mass rally in support of the junta after the government said it had foiled an attempted coup and accused America and France of influencing the country's politics. Since Traore came to power, the military government has cracked down on dissent, kidnappings, and arbitrary arrests of both civilian critics and army personnel accused of plotting coups, which have increased. Here is our cover report. Since assuming leadership in Burkina Faso in September 2022, Captain Ibrahim Traore has spearheaded a bold transformation, breaking away from the entrenched foreign influence and steering the country towards self-reliance. His administration has challenged traditional power dynamics, driven economic reforms, and ignited renewed sense of sovereignty. But on April 3rd this year, while delivering a testimony on the U.S. Africa Command posture, U.S. Marine Corps General Michael Langley had a unique perspective on the leadership in Burkina Faso and Sudan. Listen to this interaction between Langley and Senator Wicker.
The ruling elite of a country is receiving gratuities on the side that inure to the benefit of the strongman leader.
I see this, and I don't mind calling them out, but Captain Traore and Burkina Faso, as they know that both, whether it's their gold reserves, that is all those proceeds are just in exchange to protect the junta regime.
You're on mute.
Hey, just what did you say about this guy, this American guy, Farrah, in the main show? You're on mute as well.
I called him a coconut and a bounty because that is what he is. He's sitting there chatting shit. Like, I can't even believe, I know we're going to get into it, but I can't even believe that he's presenting this to these people. But I also do feel like he's being forced to because he sold his soul. The two white men behind him are clearly the devils, and the man in front of him is also the devil. You're talking about a man who has told you hands off their gold, and now all of a sudden you have concerns about what's happening to the gold. You didn't ever pay them the right money for the gold that they gave you. They're giving you the gold. You're then selling it on for 10 times, 50 times, whatever the ludicrous amount of times is that it's worth. So what he's done now is he said to you, no, you cannot come to this country and mine. We're going to do it for ourselves. And now all of a sudden you lot are out there panicking.
Exactly.
Right. France has, sorry, just one more thing to add. France has, like, I think it's 3rd or 4th in the world in the amount of gold reserves, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
But France doesn't have any fucking gold. Where did that come from?
And the leader, was it Macron tried to say that it comes from France? Where's your gold mines, please?
Where's your gold mines?
You've basically been pillaging West Africa. Yeah. And now when they're dashing you all out, now you're all going to be like, okay, he has to go. I also just to add, when he was talking, when the white guy was talking about, the leaders at the top, the military man, and using it, you had Trump selling Bitcoin. He has his own coin at this moment as a sitting president that people can buy. Trump himself. Trump is selling citizenship.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we want to start talking about somebody else dealing with their own gold. Exactly. Really?
All right.
That statement has stoked outrage across the continent.
France and the United States government needs to back off from any attempt to remove Captain Traore from office. Forget about your plan. He's our own. He's doing exactly what the people of Burkina Faso and many other African countries wish their leaders were doing for them.
Traore's decision to expel French forces and reassert control over the country's natural resources has resonated across Africa.
Emmanuel Macron insulted all Africans in his remarks. There was one part that caught my attention, where he spoke of ingratitude, and that ingratitude is a disease that cannot be transmitted to humans. He is a human. Our ingratitude is not transmissible to him. This is how this gentleman sees Africa, sees Africans. We are not human in his eyes.
The aborted assassination attempt of Traore, allegedly orchestrated by neighboring Ivory Coast, added to the fury of many Africans.
Burkina Faso's military junta says it foiled a major plot aimed at sowing total chaos.
Travail minutieux des services de renseignement.
The meticulous work of the intelligence service revealed a major plot being prepared against our country, the ultimate aim of which is to sow total chaos with a view to placing the country under the tutelage of an international organization capable of regaining control in 10 or 20 years' time, depending on the instigators.
Under Traore's leadership, the economy has strengthened, with Burkina Faso's GDP rising from $18.8 billion to $22.1 billion, a testament to the country's growing independence. By prioritizing the local processing of resources, including gold and agricultural produce, Traore has ensured that national wealth benefits Burkinabe citizens, rather than being siphoned off by foreign interests. Agriculture, the backbone of Burkina Faso's economy, has seen unprecedented support under Traore's administration. Farmers have been equipped with modern machinery, improved seeds, and necessary farm inputs, leading to increased productivity and greater food security. These efforts signify a leader dedicated to his people's well-being, committed to strengthening internal resilience and reducing reliance on foreign aid. But such bold steps often come at a cost. The claims by the American general have stirred skepticism, prompting comparisons to the narrative that led to the downfall of Libya's Muammar Gaddafi. The parallels between Libya's fate and the situation unfolding in Burkina Faso are unmistakable. Leaders who seek the true African sovereignty often face disinformation campaigns designed to weaken their influence. If Burkina Faso is left vulnerable to such maneuvers, it may suffer setbacks that will take generations to undo. Africa Bureau, we own one.
So that's a fact. Like with all of this, we know that the West will attempt to take these people out. And I wanted to show a screen of there's a video, but I didn't pinpoint it, so I'll just show this screen of leaders who have been killed by the West for their United Africa beliefs. So we've got Patrice Lumumba, who was assassinated in 1961, the country's first democratically elected prime minister, and fought for Congo's full independence from Belgium. He was targeted and eliminated with the help of Western intelligence for resisting foreign control. We have Thomas Sankara, from Burkina Faso, who was assassinated in 1987, a revolutionary leader who rejected IMF loans and promoted national self-reliance. He was killed in a coup orchestrated by internal forces with alleged backing from foreign powers. I hadn't heard of Amilcar Cabral from Guinea-Bissau, was assassinated in 1973. He led the liberation struggle against Portuguese colonialism. Betrayed from within, his killing was linked to colonial agents seeking to weaken the movement. Eduardo Mondlane from Mozambique, assassinated in 1969 as the founder of Frelimo. He led the fight for independence. He was killed by a parcel bomb believed to be planted by Portuguese secret services. Felix Roland Mumi from Cameroon was assassinated in 1960, a major voice against French colonialism. He was poisoned by French secret agents while in exile in Switzerland. We have Samora Machel from Mozambique, and died in 1986 under suspicious circumstances. As president, he opposed apartheid and Western imperialism. His plane crashed near the South African border. Many believe it was sabotage. Steve Biko, another quite renowned person from South Africa, was assassinated in 1977. A leader of the Black Consciousness movement, he was arrested and brutally beaten to death by apartheid police for challenging white supremacy. Sylvanus Olympio from Togo was assassinated in 1963. He opposed French, military dependence and sought true independence. He was killed during a military coup, reportedly backed by French interests. Chris Hani from South Africa, assassinated in 1993. Popular anti-apartheid leader, gaining influence in post-apartheid politics, murdered by white extremists fearing radical change. Laurent Desire Kabila from DRC was assassinated in 2001, ousted Mobutu and challenged foreign exploitation, shot by one of his own guards under suspicious conditions. Richard Ratsimandrava from Madagascar, assassinated in 75, just 6 days after becoming president, shot dead for trying to steer the country away from French neo-colonial influence. The France one. And then, Cheikh Anta Diop from Senegal died under mysterious conditions in 1986. Though not officially declared an assassination, his radical work in restoring African historical pride faced suppression and harsh resistance. And of course, Gaddafi from Libya was assassinated in 2011. Libya's leader for 4 decades pushed for African unity, economic independence, creation of a continental currency backed by gold, and his plans to move away from Western-controlled financial systems alarmed global powers, overthrown and brutally killed during a NATO-backed intervention, leaving Libya in chaos. What's your response to that, guy?
My response is to that, look at this. Look at history. Look at what history is teaching us. And then the other thing is there are also Caribbean presidents and prime ministers who've undergone the same. So we have Maurice Bishop in Grenada, and we have the, I forget his name, but the people in Haiti as well. It's happened anytime. We said it on the pod, on the main show. Anytime that a black leader is trying to pull a black country out of colonialism, this is what happens. They start their propaganda nonsense, and they start saying that they need to be saved. They are not capable of managing themselves. We need to go in there and civilize them. That's what they start saying. The next thing you know, there's a coup. They try to act like it's nothing to do with them, but they pay people to actually go in there and infiltrate and kill people. Captain Traore's own security were given 5 million to kill him in this recent coup.
Is this his message of address?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go.
You will hear about the African Union.
Well,
yes, it exists. But what is the effect of the African Union in reality? We cannot talk about integration in the theme and not talk about the African Union. Because it is this organization that should unite us, create real integration. But we regret to see these wars that persist on the African continent, killing millions of young people. And that this organization, which has heads of state with armies, is unable to organize itself to support certain countries. The Union is not just a word. The Union is a symbol. And we, the youth, should learn a lesson from this situation to unite, to make integration a reality. I was unpleasantly surprised when Ethiopia, which hosts the headquarters of the African Union, was experiencing a conflict. And when I saw the Prime Minister put on a military uniform and announce the closure of the university in Addis Ababa to face the threat. I did not see any action from the African Union to protect these headquarters. Most Western states saw Addis Ababa falling, packing up and leaving. Ethiopia fought, found an internal solution, and is living more or less in peace today. The children of Congo have been dying for years. Several other conflicts, such as in Sudan, exist on the continent. We would have liked to see the African Union generate the forces and all the necessary strategies to support these states so they can regain peace. For nearly 10 years, the Sahel has been the theater of international terrorism. But we see no support from these organizations to find a solution to this problem. Worse, a few days ago, a country foreign to Africa openly announced having supported and participated in a cowardly terrorist and barbaric attack against the forces of our confederation in Tinsawatten. The African Union did not utter a word to condemn this interference by a state outside of Africa in the internal affairs of our states. I would like them to hear this and therefore break their silence and take action so that the youth can believe in the African Union.
We cannot afford to lose this man.
True. What do you think about how we galvanize and get behind them. I'll show a few kind of protests that have happened around the world, but just you guys' opinions on that, because he's talking. The African Union has been around for as long as I've been alive, obviously, but what is it? And we have a lot of black leaders, and whether it's the puppets in the West or in our own home countries, that are very susceptible to the Western's influence. Sometimes I can understand being a leader of a country and being fearful, because we just showed about, and there's the video that I had, there's about 20 African leaders that have been murdered, and including the Caribbean leaders who have been murdered, assassinated, and infiltrated. The minute we start to galvanize, then the West shows their true colors of who they are, the barbaric nature of them, and they come for these places. The African Union is obviously a placeholder, it's a figurehead, but it serves to kind of imply keeping the peace, but it doesn't do anything. What do we do? How do we do it?
I think really it's twofold. And whenever there's going to be change, there is a great resistance that takes place. Change doesn't happen like smoothly. It's not people have a crisis of consciousness and are then like, you know what, hands off Africa. You have to fight. So people are going to die. Like, if you truly want the change to take place, that it has to go through systematically. I think it is, I think Sora wrote, like, it's interesting that these are happening with the French speaking countries and the colonies. And I think that shows France is weak at this moment. So it's like you seize that momentum. It would be great if then the British former colonies start joining as well. But you need the groundswell of people to be like, actually, as a continent, we are now going to be like the European Union. We are going to form and we're going to lock in, and it's about us against them now. Like, it may have to get to those types of measures, but there are going to be a lot of leaders that die. I think the protests show that you can't, it's not like when you had Gaddafi. Like, there isn't that disconnect. Like, people are now more wiser and will protest on, you cannot kill our leaders. And if you do, then it's going to be hell to pay in your countries. It's not just going to be in Africa. I think this is a new moment. And that's the kind of change that caused the apartheid to change in South Africa. It's when the diaspora also is like, look, we are prepared to lose our liberty as well for this cause elsewhere, that they are like, actually, we kind of got to maneuver in a different way. Riots cost a lot of money. At this moment in time, it's looking like nations that ain't got too much money. So now's the time for the momentum to gather pace. But if he's got guards being paid off to kill him, let's hope he survives 5 more years. But there has to be way more people. It can't be one man. There has to be hundreds that are prepared to step up and lead their countries for it to really happen.
Yeah, I totally agree. The problem has been in the past that it has been one person that's been driving this forward. But now we're starting to see, like, a lot of West Africa, they're joining forces, they're getting together and they're saying no. And then it is reaching out to the diaspora. They were protesting in Jamaica.
Yeah.
And saying, you know, they're protesting in London, they're protesting all over the globe against this thing. And France, as you said, Nana, they are looking extremely weak, because just the week before there were protests about there were Haitians protesting about reparations and the fact that they had to pay back any of the money to get their freedom. So France are looking weak. In the meantime, Emmanuel Macron is coming out and he's saying, if we leave African countries to manage their own, now is not the time. Africa remains the least developed continent, and history shows that we have a role to play in supporting its growth. A complete withdrawal would halt progress. There is still work for us to do in Africa, and we believe that they are not yet fully ready to thrive without our involvement. Now, if that is not,
how can you even utter those words with your chest?
With your chest, he can utter those words because he knows that it's a Jedi. It's a Jedi mind trick. That's what it is. Like, you need me. No, I don't. Yes, you do. Yes, I do. That's what it is. It's a Jedi mind trick. He knows that if Africa and all the Caribbean countries, all the countries that owe France the debt, if they were to pull away from France, France would be bankrupt. They know this. France needs Africa. Africa does not need France. Yeah, that is so. It's just so bizarre that this is the thing that he wants to come out and publicly say, along with the fact that a few months ago he was saying that they haven't said thank you yet, but they will say thank you.
Can you imagine that whole thing? Gratitude.
That's true.
That's akin to the guy that to Vance talking to the Ukrainian Prime Minister, saying you haven't said thank you yet. In plain sight, you're acting like you are owed anything. You're not France. You are the colonizer. Yeah. They told you to get the fuck out, and now you're acting like, oh, they're telling us to leave. They don't know what they're doing. They're not capable of. We're not. Africans are not children. Okay, countries are not children. Give Africa and the Caribbean and the countries in South America a chance to fucking run themselves. They don't need the colonizers pulling strings and taking resources and money. They don't need it. It's the richest in the world.
I cannot. I think it's the craziest thing that white people truly do believe that any melanated person is like at a deficit towards them. Like, it's actually crazy. Even if you just think of the history of civilization and learning anything, that you guys were making pilgrimage to Africa to learn how to do irrigation systems, to learn farming, to learn geometry, to learn mathematics, to learn about the constellations. Like, and then to be like, we need the newest humans on the block. We need you. When for thousands, tens of thousands of years, there was Africans roaming this land, freely doing what they're doing. That all of a sudden, all of that knowledge and in our DNA is going to be lost. That we now need to look to French people to help us.
Actively destroyed because they.
Wow!
The cheek of it.
Just to galvanize and look at how this has been far-reaching, I'm just going to skip through some of the protests that have been happening.
Raising a unified voice demanding the West take their hands off Captain Ibrahim Traore. From Ouagadougou in Burkina Faso to London to New York to Ghana to Cote d'Ivoire, where we saw students on the street protesting, to Nigeria to Gambia to Italy, they all echo the message the West cannot ignore, that Africa has risen and we will not be controlled. Let's watch clips of the movement.
Alone. Leave our sons alone. Leave our son alone. Leave our son alone.
We don't need interference of Western countries anymore in our country. We support our president, Captain Ibrahim Traore, to defend the country, to develop the country, and to take off the country of slavery. That's what most of protesters said this morning when we met them.
The boats dropped us off in different places, but we all came from Africa. Yeah. So we say, hands off President Ibrahim Traore. Your revolution is our revolution. They are afraid of us now. Ils ont peur de nous aujourd'hui.
Outside the French embassy. Yeah, they never come to work today.
This month must be recognized as the Rastafari month, and that's why we are here in support of Abraham Traore to liberate Mother Africa from the white colonizers.
I love it.
And what it is as well, what the colonizers are yet to realize is that the world is not the same.
Yeah.
Social media, and I will say that social media and the resources that it provides globally to unite people, it's not the same. Your propaganda, your ways of propaganda are not going to work, because look, in Jamaica, they know what's happening in across the globe. It's just widespread, and the lies that they try to feed into people, we can see that it's money. You don't want to keep your hands on Africa for money, for no other reason. What you're disputing, you think that he's up to something because he's giving free healthcare, because he's saying that no woman should have to pay for childbirth. That if you're wanting education, it should be free. He's, you know, if we're going to make our roads, we're going to buy the machinery ourselves with our money, and we're going to train the people who are here, who need jobs, to use that machinery so that they can build the roads for themselves, and we don't need you foreigners coming into our country and doing it. How come it's okay for these colonizers to say, we don't want small boats and we don't want immigration, get the fuck out of our country? But when they are being told on the continent, you fuck off, they got a problem with it.
Yeah.
How come immigration only works for you lot?
Of course, it's the arrogance. It's the arrogance. And just this guy was just inspiring. If I can get it right.
The Americans, they must know one thing. The contracts that they have is with our corrupt leaders. Yes. Not with us. Yes. We, as the youth of Africa, we are taking control over our mineral wealth. Yes. Like our Ibrahim Traore said, it's either we fight or we die as slaves forever. If we do not fight right now, the future for our children is going to be doomed. If we do not stand up now, the young ones that are coming, the future is going to be doomed. So that is why today we are gathered here into this embassy to tell them that they are no longer safe. Africa must unite. The time is now. Let us be like Dubai. Let us carry one currency. It is crazy that if you carry gold as the owner of the land, they want to arrest you for carrying your own mineral. They say it's against the law. But if you carry a gun, they say it's legal. A gun that can kill. How is it possible? We want to carry gold and go across Africa. I want to take my gold to Zimbabwe. I want to take my gold to Burkina Faso. I want to take my gold to Nigeria. And do business.
Oh, I love that.
You know, that's the white person's biggest fear, to see this. To see this.
This moment in time, there are people all around the world like, okay, but this shit has to end. It's not going to end in the way that they want it to. It's like your time is up. You had a good solid run. It's like literally 600 years, really. You had a good run. It has to end. All empires end. They do. It's closing chapter time, man. Closing chapter.
Rome must fall.
It's how it goes. How do you want the ending to be? Do you want it to be bloody or do you want it to be smooth? And I think that's the question when they have their next G20. They need to all sit around. How are we going to do this? How are we going to hand over? Because, you know, you can do it in a cooperative way or things are going to get peak. It's just how it goes.
And the effect that it's having, it's affecting the world, because we've been long talking about how other, what's the name of the Barbados president, the prime minister? What's her name? Mia Mottley, sorry. So she's galvanizing people and she's inspiring, she's speaking up. We've got Ibrahim speaking up. And we've been saying, like, Nigeria and Ghana kind of pulling your finger, because especially Ghana is seemingly quite embedded with the West. But
they've told them to get out of their gold mines, though, haven't they?
This is what I'm about to show you. It's just been said, Ghana has passed a new law barring all foreigners from trading directly in its local gold market. The move, led by the newly formed Ghana Gold Board, aims to increase national earnings, curb illegal mining, and regain control over the country's valuable gold sector. So I'll just play this. Am I showing my screen?
To Ghana's economy.
I am? Yes. Sorry.
For decades, it has been a major contributor to its GDP, raking in foreign exchange earnings. Licensed small-scale mining is an important part of this puzzle. Artisanal mining employs at least 1.5 million people directly and indirectly, according to Ghana's Minerals Commission statistics. Over 3,000 small-scale mining groups are registered and licensed to operate. Small-scale miners account for approximately 35% of all gold produced in the country. But the miners accuse licensed gold traders, largely foreigners, of unfair dealings.
The foreigners were taking undue advantage of the sector. Sometimes they buy it as cheap as 20% of the world market price.
The government says it wants to protect the interests of small-scale miners. A new agency, the Ghana Gold Board, would now take charge of all local gold trading activities.
So what is going to happen now is that if you want to sell gold, if you want to export gold, you'd have to deal with Gold Board.
In 2022, 60 tons of gold worth an estimated $1.2 billion was smuggled from Ghana, according to the government. Foreign gold traders are sometimes accused of complicity.
The Gold Board concept puts the Ghanaian first, and it's a concept that has been instituted to help us ensure that we maximize profit from our gold and other natural resources.
Local miners have high expectations for the directive.
So if the pricing is coming from the world market price and from what government is buying, I don't think it will be a rip-off like before.
In this day and age of international agreements, bordering on free trade and all that, you'll be opening yourself up for international litigation when it comes to such a regulation.
That means it will be a delicate balancing act for the government.
The directive for foreigners to exit the local gold trading market within weeks has received mixed reactions. While the small-scale miners welcome it as a protection against gold smuggling and delivering fair pricing for locals, some analysts worry the directive could lead to trouble from foreign gold traders in the sector.
I doubt anybody's going to go quietly as well. It's interesting that there was no focus on China, because China is one of the biggest ones for doing this crazy shit in Ghana and ruining rivers and damaging the environment. And what they started to do, and they've been doing this around Africa anyway, is they just extract the earth and ship that. So it's like, I want to know. The thing with Ghana is I just feel like they always kind of tiptoe around shit. Is it going to be radical or no?
Yeah, diplomatic.
It's just a little, we're going to try. And whenever they have a board, the board is usually corrupt as well. So it's like, I don't know. It's hopeful that it's even a step forward. But when you think of how damaging Galamsey is, it needs a radical change in how the mining sector is actually policed, run, how it's dealt with. It's going to take more than just, okay, well, we've got a board that you need to deal with. So everybody's got a board.
So we get some comments.
Okay. All right, we've had quite a few come in. D-Mode, haven't seen this name before, says, the evil West enslaved our ancestors. They were enemies to our ancestors. They are enemies to us today, and they will be enemies to our children in the future. They will always be enemies to us. Ezekiel says, don't worry about Elon and Trump. They're completely irrelevant. I think somebody mentioned them earlier on. Sora says, when you think about the percent of African immigrants that are in France, he is going to be scared soon. There's so many as well. It's an interesting one for on the ground. And KW says, can't stand Trump, but these African countries need a leader with Trump-like trading mind. Yes, that type of you need either fuck off or bow to my demands.
Yeah. They need
sometimes to destroy the country though, like Robert Mugabe. Like
a bit too much, too far. I think Abraham's on the right track, but it's like I think we've also issued like so far so good in, and I haven't done enough of a deep dive to see what people who live in Burkina Faso are saying about Ibrahim, because it's all well and good, and I will always reserve, and that's not because he's African, it's because literally the male political leaders of this world are not completely to be trusted at the best of times. But we know that those that do galvanize and do their best to come forward, they're the ones that are taken out. I like what Ibrahim's doing. I like what he's pushing. I haven't spoken to a Burkina Faso person to say like, actually, he's doing this, but actually over here, we're having this kind of experience. But at the moment, just for galvanizing, moving the movement forward. Yeah, I hope he does inspire. And even if he's not the perfect one, there are other leaders that at least have maybe got even better perspectives and morals than he has, maybe, that could even do more. But it is about us uniting. And I love the fact that it's spreading across the world. I love the fact, especially that moment in the protest clips where the African American guy was translating the immigrant Africans' words and saying it's a call to action for all of us. We weren't intended to be here. We were brought here, but our troubles is the same. So for the adults and the FBAs that are talking shit about we're not connected and we can't understand because we don't come from America, this is why things like this resonate. You have people that all the things that happen across the world to Black people, there's a commonality, and that's what binds us together, that the West hate us. No matter where you're from, you can say you grew the soil and it was on your back. Doesn't mean to say that you're respected any more than an African or a Caribbean somewhere else in the diaspora. And that is what binds us, our skin folk. We are actually kin folk, but it's just, we can't always trust all of us. So I want that message to drive home, very importantly.
What was you going to say?
Yeah, Farrah.
I can't remember now. I think even if he is not the one, the importance of this, of this revolution that is happening right now, is the message that's being spread. He's inspiring everybody across the globe, right? All the people that look like us across the globe to galvanize. And we said it a little while ago. It can't be about one person. But if all these people unite and they share a common theme, which is to get rid of the colonizers and to be in control of their own destiny, then that is what we need. That is what we need. So I don't get there, but I think that what he's doing for the people on paper seems brilliant. And when I see anybody go over there and do interviews with people, what's that guy's name? Ghana Baby. That's his Instagram. He was over there recently and he was with the people, and it all looks great. All the things that he's doing, there's always going to be someone that says it isn't great, but fuck, he's doing better than what we've got in our countries.
Exactly.
We ain't got,
This is it.
So
yeah. No, I was gonna say, on one of the clips of your Enemy of Progress, there was somebody said, yeah, but he needs to leave the journalists alone. And then I clicked on, he put a video on there, and I clicked on it, and it's a BBC reporter talking about like the journalists maybe being arrested over there. And I'm like, for one, it's the BBC. It's a reporter there, a Western reporter on the ground in Burkina Faso saying this is going ahead. I need the TikTok reporters to put this forward for me to listen to it. Never gonna, because that's the seedlings of propaganda. That's what they do. Yeah. So it's like, no, unless unless it is people in Burkina actually saying shit, I ain't listening. And as it stands, they were out in their tens of thousands protesting this failed coup.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with that data over a couple of journalists may have been arrested.
Yeah.
This
is allies, and yes, Rainwater. He does need allies. He can't be one.
Because
that faith in one person is what makes it easy to take him out. So you need multiple. So it's harder for them to just focus on one person. He can be the seed planter, and even if God forbid he is taken out, we've got other people in place ready to come forward. And the thing is, what the white leaders need to also do, it's not even about you. So mind your own fucking business.
That's all anybody's asking for is literally piss off. It's such a clear directive. Like, go about your business. Nobody isn't wanting to fight you. Nobody's being like, oh, we're going to take your land. It's just get out of ours.
Exactly. It's
my direction.
business.
It's because these Western countries are poor in minerals and poor in resources, and they take everything from everybody else. They go and they colonize, and then they take resources and they bring it back to their own places. They are running scared. This is the thing. It's the same in every fucking book.
Go on.
Abena Sarkodie is saying they're just greedy people, because at the end of the day, also another thing is trade fairly. Trade fairly. That's all you need to do. Because
they can't, because they know capitalism doesn't work that way.
I know. But I'm just saying that also
they haven't.
Capitalism works with their people that look like them. They don't want capitalism to work for anyone that's not white. So that's why I would say, even if you want capitalism to thrive, you don't have to undermine the whole just because someone's brown. Do you understand? You can actually trade.
But this is what they feel. I know, but I will just say this is why it's not working for them, because this is what they built their empire on. Their empire has been built off of the backs of people that don't look like them. This is why you have Trump telling China, I'm going to charge you, I'm going to put your the tariff up to X amount, and you can't do anything to me, but I'm going to do it to you, because they're used to getting away with that shit. They don't want to trade fair.
Oh, that's gone out of my head. There was a Trump link. Oh, what was it? Oh, yes, that was it. So Trump has done the deal for the minerals in the Ukraine. You cannot tell me that Russia going into Ukraine is not all a part of this new American agenda, because then now America is doing the deal. You're buddying with Russia as well. It's the only part of Burkina Faso that I absolutely hate is that they are kind of giving Russian oligarchs deals.
Yeah.
But Russia is not in opposition to the West. It's a part of it. When you really see it, it's like, like in those films when they're like, this is the enemy, but the enemy and it's the same one person. That is the Western Russia. They're the same, but they needed people to be like, oh, there is an enemy, so that you can be like, oh, I'll deal with you, but you're dealing with the same shit. It's too connected. It's always benefits America or the UK. In anything that Russia is up to, it's like, but they benefit as well, and then Russia benefits because they get the other side that are having the enemy that thinks that that's the enemy, and it's like, nah, let's not play that game. Africa just needs to be self-sufficient. We need to really lock down like China did. And that's hard, because I have family in Ghana, but it is like there is going to be a period of instability for the stability to happen. If you start really locking down, but we got to do it, because we can't stay in this position for another 500 years.
It's long, and I like the awakening. I kind of was like, this. We've said it before. Sometimes it's unfortunate you can't communicate to the world, because we can't communicate to the world without speaking out. But I would love for this to have our internal button to work, and we can like telepathically communicate, because I don't like this being played out either in public eye, because it is the brainwash, the way that everyone's like, yes, the revolution is happening. I'm scared. It's nerve-wracking, because as you know what they try and do.
What a revolution does. No, we don't need Russia. Come on, there's too many links. Just follow the track of, even if it's Putin, specifically now Putin's regime and the American regime as it is, they're in cahoots. They are not opposed to each other. Everybody helps the other one out. What is going on with America at this moment, when you start following the money? There are so many Russian oligarchs that are making so much money from this. Like, no, you're in cahoots.
Look,
with Russia, like they are working together. There's just no way around it, guys.
Telling Ukraine to give up a portion of their land to Russia. They're saying to Ukraine, so the bit that Russia are in at the moment, just let them have it, innit? Just let them have it. We can do the deal. We can have a ceasefire and finalize, end the war. Just let them have the land that they've occupied. Who's telling them to do that? America are telling them to do that. What for? What's in that land that's being occupied? What's there?
And to be fair, if you believe in a new world order, whatever the hell, that it's all planned out anyway. Like, do you know what I mean? If when they had that Berlin conference and carved up Africa, the same way they don't think that they sit down and carve up how they're going to divvy up the world. It's not.
Most definitely, they're neighbours. It's only just how they show us in the map. Alaska is just down the road from flipping Russia. It's like
Demo is
Alaska was Russia. Alaska was Russia. It was part of it.
Demo is standing on business that the Russian government have always helped Africa in our struggles. Demo, are you in Africa? What's your
but it's the same fractions, because there are African countries that will be like, America has always helped us. It's the poles, but it's the same pole, literally two ends. They're the same. They are literally, they work together and they pretend like they are in opposition. But if two poles are the people that you go to for help, what does that tell you? It's two masters. We don't need the two masters. They work together. We don't need a master. So then it's the same shit. Why are we going to?
Why are we, as a black continent and black countries, why are we always going to someone to help that doesn't look like us?
That's exactly it.
They never come to us for help. They come to us to take. They don't even come. They steal into our places to take, steal, rob, and then colonize. That's what they do. It's not. We don't do that to them. So that goes to show the power imbalance. The perceived power is imbalanced, and it's wrong, and it's not true. We don't need Russia. We don't need. We have one of the biggest continents in the world. Is it not? Is it always the Antarctica, whatever? Biggest continent in the world, and we're saying we need these small little countries. They're not even individual continents.
I mean, they don't even have Africa drawn on the map properly.
Yeah, exactly. That's what
but once we get that,
from one end of Africa to the other side, from like west to east, is wider than it is from Russia west to east, right? Someone was showing me this today, but on the map it doesn't look like that, because the idea is about perception. They want us to think that we're in need of them. It's just right.
As soon as you always think you need an outside ally, for you to be self-determined, you've lost.
You've lost.
And that's the perception. That perception shift is like it's a fundamental one. We don't need an outside cosign. Earlier on, Will Smith was saying all he has to do is don a suit and go through an election process, and then probably Ibrahim is going to be okay. No. Burkina Faso can run their country, he can wear whatever he wants. They don't have to conform to Western ideologies for it to be legitimate. Let's not do that. He can wear what he wants to wear. If he wants to wear military gear, that's what he does. He doesn't need to be there in a suit. I like that he doesn't even shake people's hands, that he does a spud. It's all asserting yourself that we ain't got to do this. We ain't got to be like you.
All right. Okay. So Strike 22 says, y'all don't know what you're asking for. Sugar Apple 26B says, okay, 268, sorry. Okay, so if not Russia, then who? Africa does need a country similar to Russia or China. It's going to take decades to reach where they are, hence the need for collaboration. But what are we asking Russia for? Weapons. What are we asking Russia for? What are we asking China for? And what difference has it made in the years that they have been? Because they've been in our countries, in the continent and in our countries for many, many years, for decades. It's not just, it's becoming apparent now because now people are looking and doing more research. But it's not something new. It's not a relationship that happened yesterday. They have been China has been taking over Caribbean and Africa for a very long time.
You can have a new leader. It basically is basically the thing. You have a new leader. Even Jay Sean saying Russia is the less of the evils. This is the thing. So then we do the cycle again. When is the cycle of dealing with people to save us going to end? Now, collaboration is very different to looking to somebody to be your next master.
Right.
That's different. Trade is different. Obviously, the world or every country needs trade. But there can be systems that you put in place, like they do, like the European Union does, of how trade works, where the Europeans get a better deal always if you're a part of the European Union, and then you come outwards. Why can't Africa do exactly the same thing?
And also the rules of, I think, what is it, G-Sean, you said that we signed a non-nuclear weapon treaty hundreds of years ago, so we can't build our own nukes. But you know what? You know what we do? Yes, we can, because those treaties don't always apply to us.
They skip out on treaties all the time.
Rules and regulations. The West says they're democratic. We live in a supposed to be a democratic society, but yet we've got someone like Trump in leadership. We've got companies in our countries, in Africa and the Caribbean, who are trading our minerals illegally. They're not doing due diligence to the country that they're in. They're breaking the rule because they feel that they can. Hello, Africa and Caribbean, do the same. I'm not saying yeah.
They break the rules all the time. They break international law all the time. Yeah, the establishments that were set up to make sure that people stick to the rules and do what they're supposed to and stop wars and all this fucking shit, they break it all the time when it feels like, when they feel like it, when it serves their purposes. So I totally agree with you. There is a difference between trading with a country and having that country be your master. There is a difference. Why can't we trade like everyone else trades? Why can't we? Why can't Africa have a one currency like Europe does? Why not?
Why are they told?
The only reason why the what's it called? I can't remember what it's called. The French currency. What's it called? The central franc or whatever it is. That currency exists is because that was a way in 1945 of them holding on holding on and controlling their colonies. This is why it exists. They don't make money necessarily off of it, but what they do is they say to all the countries that are part of this currency that they have to hold a percentage of their wealth in the French treasury. That's fucking ludicrous. Like, why do these countries have to be beholden to that? Why can't they be responsible for themselves in trade, in currency, and in everything else? Africa's not a poor continent.
Edgar Muzmara, I hope I said that right. Russia has always been helpful to Africa. It's never exploited Africa, and it also works with Africa as equals. I'd like demonstration and examples because maybe I don't know enough.
I need examples of that. There's definitely always been an allyship, but when you can clearly see the line of these are, as KW said, two cheeks of the same arse, we have to be very careful. It's literally how the game is rigged. You create an enemy for people to think that is the safety, and then you put all of your chips in their basket, and then they show you who they are because they were always the same. And it's like, actually, maybe we just try and be independent.
How about that?
Let's give it a go.
Sugar Apple is also talking about our black governments are largely to blame for the state of our countries. Our own leaders don't care about us, and our own people keep putting them in power. We understand we have a problem with that, with leaders being bought out. But we can't keep defaulting to, oh, well, we literally cannot keep saying, oh, well, this shit happens. That's just where we're at. We're in the state of shit happens. And the whole world is happening with us in the West who are apathetic to getting out and voting and marching and being like, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change. That is the number that they've done on us. We've spoken about it many times on this show and the main show. That is the number they've done on us, that we feel helpless and powerless as people. But one thing that the West very much know that frustrates me that we don't know about ourselves is that when black people stand on business, what we've endured, when we do come together, it's a different thing. And it's not even the violence that they're scared of. It's the common sense, the connection that we have and the way we're able to mobilize. We make truly lemonades out of lemons. We truly make life out of fucking shit. We truly, after everything we've endured, we just need to forget that brainwash that have been put on us, that Jedi mind trick, that brainwash, that colonization, that oppressed mindset that they've had on us. We can't keep saying this, that our leaders are leaders are leaders. Yes, we know. Even I've said that as much as Ibrahim's a leader and I'm getting behind him, I'm also traumatized by knowing that African leaders can also be bought and corrupt. Yes, we know this, but we can't keep saying, oh, no. Let's go.
Yeah, it's not the doom and gloom.
What is the alternative?
We have to be like that dude in that video. It is like the time has to change. It's that type of energy that is needed. Not the, oh no, but they're going to kill. We're all going to die. We're all going to die at some point. So maybe we should be dying for a cause that makes a better future.
So the real Leslie says, so collaborating makes this happen faster and more effectively because of Russian power, access and resources. Okay. You know what? Okay. Because
it's collaborating on our terms. That's all. That's literally it is not looking to Russia to be the savior, like they are going to be the next power to allow in for the. It's actually really locking in what is the African Union. How can that be strengthened? It's about putting Africa first, the diaspora first, and then how you work with other people, not the other way around.
Strike 22 saying something I think I've similarly said. Y'all scream for Palestine, LGBTQ or whatever other group, and all these groups have shown you time and time again that when it comes to you, they don't give a damn. There's a fact in that, but you know, the wider thing, we've spoken about the importance of speaking up about Palestine, but it is very true that it's easier to talk about a group that's getting a lot more wider global support and recognition than actually focusing on your own people, them, and especially Black people, because we do have this fear. It's a fact. I've said it on here that I'm scared, and also those of us in the West who haven't faced true poverty, where I'm outside, like I have to piss in a hole and dig for water and carry water 25 miles or I don't have constant electricity. That type of lifestyle, when you feel like you've got nothing else to do, so I will fight. We don't know that. So it's very easy for us to even say, go and fight, or no, we can't change things, or we need to line up with Russia, China, or another Western country because we're never going to make it, and our leaders. It's so very fucking easy. But like that man who was saying, don't be frightened, don't be fearful, because he's seen some shit. He's seen some stuff. You can tell he's been through some shit. He knows, like, fuck it, we die. We ride tonight or we die. Like, come on.
We ride it dawn.
Yeah. And the fact of the matter is, we're talking about protesting and boycotting. Speaking of our good old friends, the Americans, and this is one that Farrah said that, put in the group. The US House of Representatives is preparing to vote on a controversial bill that would impose fines or prison sentences of up to 20 years on American citizens who participate in boycotts of Israel or Israeli settlements, including those supported by international bodies such as the UN and the EU. This is how they keep us feeling like we cannot do a damn thing to change anything.
Fucking crazy right now, but this is insane. On Monday, the House of Representatives is voting on a bill that would impose a $1 million fine or 20 years in a federal prison for Americans who boycott Israel. It is House Resolution 867, or IGO, Anti-Boycott Act, and it is being voted on May 5th. And it would impose a $1 million fine and potential 20-year prison sentence for Americans who boycott the country of Israel. The bill is being sponsored by Representative Lawler of New York, and it is essentially trying to shield Israel from accountability and the BDS movement, which has been massively successful in punishing companies who are supporting the genocide going on in Gaza. It currently has 24 bipartisan co-sponsors in the House of Representatives. I will put them here. Go ahead and pause it, take a little screenshot, and then call their office. The ACLU has condemned and strongly opposed these bills. They tried to do this last year, actually, in 2024, and the House resolution failed, saying that these resolutions punish boycott movements with criminal penalties. These movements are essentially targeting free speech. This is all goes back to free speech. And also like freedom of purchase and like the free market, because a boycott is essentially not participating in the purchasing of products and services from companies that don't have morals that align with your own. So if we're not allowed to even express our own moral compass through our purchasing power, do we even have free speech? Like, come on.
No.
These are the same Republicans that were screaming and crying over a forced vaccine mandate like 4 fucking years ago. And they are out here trying to give people $1 million in fines or 20 years. That is more than a first-degree R charge. Okay. 20 years in a federal prison for not purchasing products from companies associated with the big I. How they plan on enforcing this? Who fucking knows? Who knows? You skip the Starbucks line once, you could be on that list, babe. So this is insane. It's functionally insane. They know it's functionally insane. But please, please call your representatives, because Democrats are supporting this too. Okay. And let them know that this is buck wild, just absolutely political buck wildness. Hey, so
what the hell? That's wild.
So basically, I'm gonna read a bit, yeah, from the what's it called? The HR 867. It says, This bill expands an existing anti-boycott law to include certain boycotts imposed by the international governments organizations. Current law prohibits various actions by US persons, individuals, or entities in relation to boycotts imposed by foreign governments on a country which is friendly to the United States and is therefore not itself object to a United States boycott. The bill applies to those prohibitions similar to boycotts imposed by the IGO. So it's saying, if you refuse to do business with companies organized under the laws of the boycott country, that's one thing that's wrong. If you refuse to employ a person on the basis of race, religion, sex, or national origin to do with the boycott, if you're refusing information about someone who is associated to charitable or fraternal organizations in support of the boycotted country. So is this not DEI?
That is basically saying that America owns you.
But also, is it
have to go in line with America?
Is it not DEI as well? Because you're saying that we have to, or that the Americans have to, otherwise it's, you're showing refusal to anyone that's associated to Israel. But isn't this positive DEI?
Yeah.
No. Get rid of that shit.
And
it's wild.
Definitely DEI.
And that is what. So you have no freedoms. So the whole movement of like shopping consciously, if it isn't in line with the American government, you cannot do this, and we will put you in jail. If that isn't a fascist state, I don't know what is. If this gets passed, I thought it was wild Roe v. Wade. I don't know. Maybe that somehow has become more normalized for me now. But this. It's like that was probably the test ground. Can we do this? And now it's going to be everything. Are Americans trying to leave? Like, I know it's not like everybody can just leave, but these things on my civil liberty, I'd be like, oh my God, I need to be having some plan.
There is a high in outflux. There's a high number of Americans that are looking to move.
That are leaving. Okay.
I mean, again, it's in the microcosm of conversations, and some of the news stories are saying Americans are leaving and looking to repatriate somewhere else because this is wild. It is an infringement, and this is like when we spoke about the boycotts back in the 90s to boycott apartheid. And when people didn't buy so many brands, there were so many. I think there's even I'm not saying it's happening now, but I think it was John West tuna, even down here. I still remember.
I
can't buy.
Bypass that. That has never been in my house. That was a big thing. Like never John West.
All those things. Like we were not shopping and buying certain things. And Farrah, you always speak about looking at it because you remind me. Because sometimes I do. When one thing moves on and you've done that part, then you forget that actually there's another thing that you need to be boycotting, and it can be difficult when you're shopping. Check where things.
You know what? Yeah, there are apps that you can use that tell you whether or not you can. I think it's called No, that you can use that tells you what you can and can't, what's on the boycott list, what isn't on the boycott list. And I've been boycotting a lot of things for a couple of years now, and it just becomes nature. Like, you just know, like I can't have that. I have something else. There's always something else that you can have. But it's ridiculous to me that they are imposing this law, because how are you going to check? What are you going to do? Unless you're going to close all of the shops that don't have any association to Israel, how the fuck are you going to check? If someone doesn't want to go to Starbucks and they go somewhere else, what are you going to do? You're going to stop them and say, why didn't you go to Starbucks? Why did you get your coffee?
Exactly.
What are you going to fucking actually do?
It won't be normal people. What they will do, this will get passed, and it will be the leaders of movements. It will be the people with big social clout, people with bigger accounts. It will be celebrities who go against it. It will be names, so that it rings out, so that the same way we have the same fear of being self-determined in Africa, it'll be the same. I don't want to be arrested for this. Actually, I'm going to now remove anything that is in support of Palestine. They have had that for over 50 years of people being like, they're not going to talk about Palestine.
Yes.
And now it's been spoken about. They are literally like, oh no, we cannot have this momentum, because they know it cascades to everything. When you start talking about colonialism, we start looking at all the different ways that you are colonizing this world. And they don't want it to end.
And in the meantime, you've got people in America who are saying this.
Something wrong in this country, telling people it is okay to work 3 jobs, not see your kids, not see your loved ones, not take a vacation, and God forbid you get sick, okay? And I still got a job at home because I'm a mother. Because let's not forget, I don't get a day off. And I got to figure all that out. How are we going to eat? How are we going to pay rent? How are we going to pay the utility bills? That every single thing went up after COVID. Not one thing stayed the same except salaries. The only thing that stayed the same in this country is the minimum wage. Even though everything else went up, there is no scarcity. It is how do we pit people against each other so they're too distracted to see everything that I'm too addicted to consuming. And how much profit I'm making, and more profit, how many more houses one individual can have, how many yachts can one individual have, regardless of whether I am a female, male, whatever. I am a human being first. With what conscience are you criminalizing poverty? And it's not going to stop just in the United States. The poor of the world, not just this country, are fed up. And let's not leave out rural communities. I live in Haines City, Polk County, Florida, okay? But do you think that the poor in rural communities have transportation? They don't. There's absolutely not even a sidewalk to walk on because I am giving the message of stay poor, stay hidden, and die silently, okay? If I get a job, how do I get to that job? If I even get it when I'm in a rural community. There's
flipping crazy.
You're focusing on fixing the country. This is what you're focusing on. People wanting to support a nation that's been annihilated. You're then cracking down on them and letting people, your American people that you fight for, the white people that you are pitting against the immigrants. White people are actually who you're galvanizing to support you, but are you supporting them? How they, because they have jaywalking crimes in America. So this woman trying to, if you're in the rural place, you haven't got a pavement, a sidewalk to walk on, and then you can get arrested for jaywalking. Did you see there was a video of a woman that was looking for her dog, and I think she came out of her car and crossed the road to look for her dog, and then she got charged for jaywalking because she crossed the path and she walked on the grass. Some crazy logic. And then she got pulled over by or stopped by the police. Maybe she didn't get charged, but got stopped by the police. You haven't got to pay.
It's a money making scheme, basically. Just another way for them to make loads of money. Maya is just saying their tourism is down 11% too in America. That we said it. I have no intentions of going at all. I think that's just a way to boycott as well, is to not go over there.
There was a stewardess on a flight to LA, and she took a picture, and all of the seats were empty.
Wow.
Like, I think it was like first class or something like that. It was all empty. So tourism is down. But that woman's right. They do all these things to kind of like blind you as to what's really happening and what you should focus on. They don't care whether you're in America, whether you're in England, wherever you are. It's just the end result is about the rich remaining rich and getting richer, and the poor just being the worker bees. That's what they want us to do.
I mean, for all of the things that we've been saying anyway, I don't need to go there. For anybody to take my phone.
We ain't getting it. Even if we went there, Nana, they're not letting us in. Like, what? We're not allowed. I wouldn't even try it.
Oh my God. Are we moving on to Trump and his pictures?
Well, I was going to say, just for I was just going to say, the foolish, and then your foolish leader is doing shit like this. This was just, I didn't see the AI, I'm going to pull up the Pope, but this was him really insisting that immigrants' tattoos were not photoshopped.
Last night.
Oh, this was bad.
You have to see that it went off the rails when Moran brought up the subject of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the guy from Maryland who was wrongly deported to a prison in El Salvador. Trump is convinced that he is a member of a gang, MS-13, and the evidence he is so convinced by is this clearly doctored photo in which someone, possibly a 5-year-old, put MS-13 on his knuckles. Now, to everyone else, this looks like it was created in Microsoft Paint on a Tandy 1000, but to Donald Trump, this is irrefutable evidence.
He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattoo.
Oh, he had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was so let me
that was Photoshop. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. I picked you, Terry.
It's so stupid.
Very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Terry.
Oh, God.
Want me to show you the picture?
Yes, let's look at that picture again together, because This couldn't look worse if Trump had written it in with a Sharpie himself. Not to mention, this zoom in on a photo of Abrego Garcia they took a couple of weeks ago at the prison in El Salvador. You can see there is no MS or 13 anywhere on his hand. Our president is falling for Facebook memes, not even good Facebook memes. He's like your aunt who texts you a picture of a minion and asks, is this person real? But Donald Trump is never wrong. Never, no matter how hard Moran tried to move on from this, he would not let it go.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine.
No,
sir.
Terry,
I want to get to
Terry,
Ukraine.
No. He had MS as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
When
it's
he was
fake
photographed
news.
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go on. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They
Take
weren't
a look
there,
at the
but they're
photograph.
there now, right?
No,
But they're
they're
there
in
now.
your picture.
Terry,
Ukraine, sir.
he's got MS-13 on his knuckles. Okay?
We'll take a look.
It's you do
We'll take
such a
look.
disservice.
We'll take a look at
Why
that,
don't you
sir.
just say, yes, he does, and, go on to something else?
It's contested.
The level of embarrassment. I find it even actually hard to watch that. It's so bad.
Embarrassing.
Oh, God.
I haven't actually watched the Pope stories. Let me play the Pope story.
Oh,
Here's
God.
the first conclave to elect a new pontiff. Donald Trump has posted an AI-generated image of himself as the Pope on his social media platform, which the White House then shared on its official X account.
What's wrong with
Catholics
the White
around the
House?
world say it's deeply insulting and makes a mockery of their faith.
In white papal robes, seated in an
Why?
ornate chair, Donald Trump posted this fake image, AI generated. It was then shared on the official White House account. Earlier this
Imagine.
week, the US president joked he'd like to be the next pope.
I'd like to be Pope. That would be my #1 choice.
Trump is not Catholic, and leaders of the 1.4 billion strong church aren't amused. The former Italian PM responded by saying vergogna, which means shame. This is an image that offends believers, insults institutions. The leader of the global right enjoys being a clown. And from New York's Catholic bishops, there is nothing clever or funny about this image. We just buried our beloved Pope Francis. Do not mock us. The Vatican is preparing to host the conclave from May 7. Finishing touches are being made to the Sistine Chapel where the assembly will convene, and the chimney has been installed. It will signal through smoke whether a new pontiff has been elected. As 9 days of mourning comes to a close, cardinals have begun to meet privately.
How to make the church relevant in today's time, how to reach out to young people.
Most keeping the secret discussions exactly that. Sarah Naven for 10 News First.
So,
You know what? though? You know what?
be okay. Is this okay? Like, truly, like, you can't do that about anybody religious. And for a president to be mocking the Pope, imagine he done that and he was dawned like he was Muhammad. Like, I think there has to be world ramifications for this. You can't just mock a religion like that. Like, how can that be okay? And it's kind of like, only 1 or 2 people are going to say anything about that. This is wild actions. I'm astounded.
I don't even understand what the White House Instagram is doing at the moment. It's being run like it's a fucking 16-year-old's account.
Yes,
like
It probably is. I think Barron is running it. I think it literally is Barron.
Yeah, all that really big balls who works for Zoe. It's that type of idiot that's running the not even idiot, little sly infiltrator that's running these things, because it's so petty and kid-like. Aren't you embarrassed as a country, the leader, supposed to be the biggest, baddest country in the world? You're posting even images on X in the first place.
Of him as the Pope. You're right, Nana. He shouldn't be able to mock any religion at all. The Pope just died the other day. It's just disgusting. I don't understand him at all. And he's like, I would like to be Pope. Because in his deluded brain, he probably thinks, okay, if I don't get a 3rd term, maybe I can be Pope. I've got no political history. You know, I've never done anything in politics, and here I am, president for a second time. Maybe I can be both. I wouldn't mind that job. There's a bit of power in there as well. In his deluded brain, he probably thinks he can be.
He probably could. Stephen is saying now he's doing exactly what his voters think. They dislike Catholics. When was that a thing?
Do they like? Well, there's also the Catholics versus Protestants. So I guess there's always that, and it translates into like maybe the Irish American community, and then Protestants are the wider American community. I don't know. I'm talking off my head, so I don't know what that is. I didn't know that per se, but I can understand stoking the bases, because I suppose there's the Catholics versus the Protestants, and then the evangelicals. I don't know where they lie in regards to all of this stuff. The Baptists.
You was just at the dude's funeral though, and again you showed no respect because you were wearing blue. So I guess it tracks. I just would have thought that other leaders of various nations would condemn this practice, because I feel like, and everybody would know, I don't care for Obama, but if Obama did this, just this one act, not even the cascade of what Trump has done, but if Obama did this, it would be all hell break. Everybody would have something to say. We should have heard way more people being like, what the hell is this? What is going on with this man? And can we check his mental health?
Okay, all right. So then Stephen A is saying, they may always mention that Biden is a Catholic. Yeah, that's true. So many of the deep red people are evangelical, goes back hundreds of years. Ceylon Delon says his base are white Christian nationalists. So yes, they hate Catholics as they see them as leftists. Okay, I get it.
Okay.
I get it.
Lord in heaven.
D-Mode. D-Mode, you were writing for the Russians, and now you're saying we don't need a black pope. A black pope is window dressing. He will only represent white supremacy with a black face. Having a black pope will not benefit black people anyway. That's kind of like what we were saying about
we spoke about it at length last week when we were going through who the things are. But because of that, and because of the world movements, I wouldn't be surprised if it is a black pope.
I hope. Now. Before, to be fair, I was like, nah, they're not going to do it this time around. But especially to quell any kind of support and tapping into religious guilt, you put a black person, and he's like, and he'll go and placate.
And then he's always going to be speaking for peace. Then he'll do a world tour around Africa, and then all of the churches will be back full of people just praying for hope again. It's like I could see that seed happening at this moment in time, as opposed to the last pope when there was a black one up. I don't think it was the right moment. It may not be this one, it may be the next one after, but they're all a little bit younger, so I'm not sure. I feel like we could have a black pope. I wouldn't be surprised.
I think it's a black pope. I'm wary of whoever it is that comes next, because Pope Francis was so political, as much as political as he could be for a pope. You know, he spoke out against a lot of different things, and was a little bit left, I suppose you could say, in relation to some of the previous popes. And I just think that I'm fearful of who comes next and how far removed it will be from that. So I definitely I don't want it to be, I'm a Catholic, right? And I don't want it to be a black person, because I feel like they will be a pawn in the game for as right as it will start to go. I'd rather it not be.
And
I would like it to be something global south, though, definitely.
Can I ask also, because as they say that the Pope is one of the most powerful people in the world, where is that power best felt? How is that power felt? Just as affecting anything in the world. How is the power of the Pope felt? Because I've never really, I don't think I can recall
it's powerful, but it's not powerful in the same way as politics. Like as a president, it's powerful because you're the leader of a religion which has got millions of people across the globe. So that's the term of the power and influence and the respect that comes with that. But it's not like they can evoke change in the same way that. Go ahead.
No, I was agreeing with you. I thought that I'm kind of echoing you.
Yeah.
It's like, and I feel like as religion's power has diminished, so has the Pope's as well. But definitely there's still power in having so many millions of people around the world see you as a figure. So when the Pope speaks, and it still has effect, change can happen. So that's why for time people would like, you didn't want the Pope to speak on some atrocity going on in your country, because then loads of other people are now going to be like, okay, that has to change now. Like, it can't carry on if the Pope has said something. So, and then people would lobby the Pope, speak about it in one of your sermons so that it can start the seeds of change to happen, because there's so many people that are like, he is the mouthpiece of God.
The fact that the Pope used to call the church in Palestine every day, and the fact that he spoke about, even to his last sermon, his last speech was talking about the atrocities in Palestine. Israel called him anti-Semitic, and he's like, you know what I mean?
It's good to understand. It's good to get that out there.
It's powerful in terms of religion, like Nan said, and galvanized that way. But it's not like they're changing laws across the globe.
I think it's what you were, because it's on the baseline. Yes, I know everything that you guys are saying, but it is, as someone in the comments said, the Pope hasn't done anything fuck all for me, and it is down to the diminishing respect of religion, or the diminishing belief and reliance on religion to even affect our lives, and it's the fact that the world's biggest leader of supposed to be the biggest country, baddest country in the world, is able to disrespect him like this. It's also undermining that person's power in a way that is where the world is going, where people in authority leadership, they're not respected because of their stature or their morals or something like that. It's like how big your balls are, how many guns you've got, and how rude you can be at the moment. It's like very schoolyard. It's getting even more and more childish and infantile. And there's no there's a destruction of the pillars of morality that we kind of used to lean on as back in the day. So it's very interesting what's happening.
Shall we move?
Yeah, so I'll see how we get through this. It's a bit of a long one. But it ties in with Black people being in a position of power and success, and the way that we are torn down and taken off our pedestal in such insidious ways. So overall, and this is a very American story, but it does relate, so hopefully it can translate. You've got SHEDEUR Sanders. He's the latest NFL draft, and I'm not into NFL, but I heard this story came through the noise. And there's lots of debate about his draft, because he's supposed to be like, he's a Colorado quarterback. He's once considered a potential first-round pick, but yet he was drafted at 144th. So those of you who do know what goes on when they're picking their start,
yeah. I was going to say, explain this, because I have no idea what
are you talking about.
Okay, we'll land, and it is quite fascinating. It's a little bit. It is quite fascinating. So as they do, and this is me, basically, if you lot have watched Jerry Maguire, it's similar to that. You are the favorite. You're in school. You're the favorite kind of quarterback, front back, whatever the call is. They will then, if you're kind of be picked up next to go to a major team, you'll have the camera crew in your home, and especially if you're a favorite, they'll be watching you and they'll be listening, and they'll be like, we're going to pick this person to join our team. And there's a hierarchy of who they're going to call. Now, SHEDEUR Sanders, who's the son of Deion Sanders, who's one of the biggest, baddest football players, and who's gone on to be a football coach, very significant thing. He has been he was picked 144th, where he should have been picked first, or in the higher rankings. People say it's because he's a rich Black kid, the son of a very cocky Black man, that they kind of humbled him. So it's just, there's FD Signifier, who I love watching. He's done a kind of a breakdown of this. But I first wanted to show give some context with Tiger Woods when he first came out. And we know Tiger Woods is not the same guy that we thought he was. But in his early days, this is quite an early, this is quite a famous interview that he went through, experienced.
Be a successful week here in Milwaukee.
Two things. I think if I play 4 solid rounds, we'll go off to a good start today. If I can do that for 3 more days, I'll be very happy, and a victory would be awfully nice too.
A victory. Do you think? To me, that comes off as a little cocky or brash, especially talking to the other guys on tour that have been out here for years and years and years, and certainly an incredible amateur record. But what do you say to those guys?
Well,
when you come out here, you know what I'm saying. Your first pro tournament, you say, I can win.
Oh, I understand that. I've always figured that why go to a tournament if you're not going there to try and win? there's really no point in even going. That's the attitude I've had my entire life, and that's the attitude I will always have. As I would explain to my dad, second sucks and third's even worse. That's just a feeling.
But on tour, that's not too bad sometimes, though.
That's not too bad, but I want to win. That's just my nature.
You'll learn. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry I had to say that.
I cannot with these people. Oh my God! Like really, like little Negro. Like know that you're even lucky to make it to be pro.
Yeah.
Like oh my, that's what to your face, you know. And look how he's got a grin. Look how he's got a smile about it. And this is why he is the man that he is, grinning and bearing it. He needed to be like, stop this shit. Like how Serena and Venus's dad was like, don't ask them stupid questions. Ask them proper questions and keep it moving. Somebody else needed to be in the room advocating for him. Like, nah, man. Can't talk to my son like that. Like, you should be glad to be there. No.
And the bitterness, it's the bitterness in the man's faces. I think it was George, what's his name? Not Sanders. I had his name. Something strange. It's a matter. I'd never seen it before. But I found it on my travels. It's a very famous moment because people say that they've memed that moment when it says you'll learn when you've got it totally wrong, when you're being cocky and you'll get it wrong. You'll learn. It's the you'll learn. And it's like, why are you bringing down this boy? Tiger wasn't even being cocky or aggressive.
Wasn't. He just said he wants to win.
And even if he was, yes, I know. I mean,
but as a sports person,
yeah.
So what, you go out to lose? Is that what you do? Is your intention? I'm just happy to be here. I'm just happy to. You're going to fucking try and win. Otherwise, what's the fucking point? That is the whole point.
That's the whole point.
I want to come last. I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to be amongst the greats. Oh my God, I can't believe it. That's literally how he wanted him to be. No.
The gratitude. Yes, there is a similar. Yes, Curtis Strange is the name of the interviewer. He has come out later on to say he regretted that interview. I haven't watched all the things of what his was or whatever. You will, because you become a meme and you were dissed from that. Even from back in the day when that interview happened, you got dissed because it was out of order. He's still going on, but FD. This is what's happening similarly to SHEDEUR Sanders. FD Signify is great. He does his breakdown stories. Is it so? I'm going to try and get through it. There's a bit to get through, but it's very interesting. So all I want you to do is, I have my points, but there is a bit where it's quite long. So when you've had enough, just shout and I'll pause it and move to the next bit. But it's fascinating. So
FD is all time. If he ever comes on, I'm fan. I can't help it. Like, I just love how he breaks things down. He is the all-time YouTuber in my mind. Like that. Yeah, he's up there.
All right, let's go.
The league in 3 or 4 years, just like the aforementioned Josh Rosen. But the way things have played out thus far are separate from that possible outcome. The draft is a crapshoot, only a fraction of players pan out. That's why you take these chances when you have them. So no, all of the argument about his talent is invalid. Now, what can be debated somewhat is whether or not the combination of SHEDEUR's talent and his off-field concerns might have changed the way teams ranked him. But here's where things start to get complicated. As I said earlier, SHEDEUR is a rich man's son, and historically, that has been a recipe for questionable character in young men. It's a story as old as time, both in real life and fiction. Batman, Tony Stark, RFK, JFK, probably a couple other people in their family. You can go down the line. Chet Hanks. Psych! Them Ross. Like, this is a story as old as time. But what makes it more complicated is the rich man in question, Deion Sanders. And we got to take a detour because so much of this story is really about Deion and his presence and legacy in the NFL. Deion Sanders is one of the greatest football players of all time. Oh, wow. The greatest who ever played his position. But more importantly, Deion Sanders is the literal inventor of modern day black masculine swag. I've talked about this before in other videos, but in short, whatever you think is cool that black men are doing in 2025, whether it be a style of dress or jewelry or a way of talking, understand that it stems from things that Deion Sanders did for black masculinity back in 1995, or really back in 1989 when he was first drafted appropriately by the Atlanta Falcons with the 5th overall pick. And I just want you to see the way this man looks in 1989, minus a Jerry curl, of course, because that was still in style. But if you look at Deion Sanders and you look at the way players are looking even today when they're getting drafted, you see the difference. This is not how black men presented before he made this popular. Deion was ungovernable from jump. Famously, he said during an interview that leading up to the draft, he ended up in a meeting with the New York Giants, and they tried to give him a test that he didn't feel like doing. So he walked out of the meeting saying, y'all aren't going to be able to draft me because you're not going to have a high enough pick anyway. And he gave him the deuces. He was that sure that he was going that high, and he did not care how they felt about it.
Into this room, and the Giants was there. And it was the Giants room, and they had people sitting down taking these tests. What do they call these things?
Oh yeah, like the psychology test, right?
I mean, the thing was that thick, man. And I sat down and they gave me this thing. And what is this? They say it's this test, and we need you to take it. I said, oh, what picker do you have? It's like the 10th. I said, I'll be gone for then. I gotta be walked out. I'll be gone. I'll be way gone for then.
Now, it's important to recognize that Deion was just carrying on a tradition inherited from the likes of Muhammad Ali and a little bit of Billy D. Williams, maybe Rick James, many others. The cool pose, good old exaggerated swag. That is not something that Deion created, but it's something that he crystallized into a lot of what we see today. Being bigger than life, being somewhat of an anti-hero, maybe even a villain or a heel. That's what Deion wanted to do on purpose early in his career. He said himself that because he was playing the position of cornerback, a position that wasn't the highest paid in the NFL, that he wanted to make sure that he would always be at the top of the NFL food chain in terms of notoriety and popularity. So he created a character, a brand, prime time, to draw attention and ensure that he would become a star bigger than the game itself. And in doing that, he's influenced the last 30 years of how black men see themselves and how they want to be seen by the world. When you see
what, not sexy guys?
The thing is, that was a thing in it. We remember seeing all of the different players from basketball to NFL and how their suits were crazy in the 80s and 90s. But yeah.
Players getting drafted and they have big custom chains around their necks with their nicknames, that's Deion Sanders. When you see them in flamboyant, colorful suits, that's Deion Sanders. When you see them high step into the end zone and then do a little dance when they get there, that's Deion Sanders. That's all Deion. For the first half of his career, he was greatly hated for this behavior. He played the heel well, and he did it on purpose because he knew that there was a history of this type of character working for this reason, but it could only work if he was the best. And he wasn't quite there yet. So he calmed things down a bit going into the second half of his career. After leaving the Falcons, he won 3 Super Bowl championships and played the political game more. And the combination worked, and he was granted access to more opportunities after his playing days were over. He was still over the top in a lot of ways, but it felt less abrasive. And the key was you couldn't say shit to him at that point in time because for all the arrogance and shit talking he did, he backed it all up. But it didn't mean that some didn't hate him, maybe to this day, and wanted to take him down a peg for not behaving as he was supposed to, for being too daring and ungovernable, for not being appreciative enough for the game. In many ways, Deion Sanders epitomizes black excellence, but that's not necessarily a good thing, and we'll come back to that later. The most status quo threatening thing he had done in recent years was become the head coach of Jackson State University, a small HBCU in Alabama. This was a huge deal because Deion was suddenly doing black excellence in the way we often imagine it. He was a black man that achieved so much while being unapologetically black, and he had become influential, and he was suddenly using that influence to help other black people at a level that was possibly threatening to the institutions that usually control college football. No one in normal college football would have given him a head coaching job at that point in time, but at HBCU would because they had nothing to lose and plenty to gain. And even if Deion wasn't a great coach, his star power and attention would draw a lot of money to the school, and they would benefit from that. And that also meant he would probably draw a lot of the best players in the country to attend a school they probably never would have done in the first place. NCAA football is big business at the highest levels. And the best players are going to try to make it to the NFL through the NCAA by playing for the top NCAA teams. So this means that HBCUs like Jackson State will rarely have highly sought after talent. At best, they'll get diamonds in the rough on accident who still make it to the NFL, but for the most part, they're surviving on leftover players not good enough for big-time college football. That changed with Deion Sanders, as almost immediately he captured the #1 recruit in the country, Travis Hunter, a 5-star recruit from Georgia who went on to win the Heisman Trophy this past year and had a career like no other in NCAA history, and then became the 2nd overall pick in this year's draft. This was a player that other schools would have been spending tons of time and effort recruiting, and he went to a legitimately inferior school because he, like many other players, was inspired by Deion Sanders. This really shook up the NCAA, and you could tell so much shade was thrown at Deion by other coaches. He was playing the game wrong and not respecting and knowing his place. When he was a player and not knowing his place, it was fine because he was still very much beholden to the overall structure of the NFL. But as a coach, as a person with real power and influence, he was suddenly threatening the system. What would happen if other players did what Travis Hunter did?
Are we cool? Are we good? Do you get what's going on?
Yeah. No, this is interesting. Okay.
Of what we're talking about through everything that we're talking about.
Yeah.
I will scum this bit. This is quite significant. Then I'll skip to
the best players in college football are all black. And college football is a multi-billion-dollar industry that relies on those players being on PWI teams so that those teams get the money and the institution functions the way it always has functioned. The labor and talent of these black players was not meant to benefit black colleges. This could not be allowed. But in the end, Deion did what many black excellence types do. He bought back into the system using the work he had put in. I'm not saying he's a sellout. I'm saying he literally bought in. This is problematic, but not as bad. The system recognized that he was a threat to them, and so it made space for him to join. So he went from Jackson State to the University of Colorado, and he took
So if you guys, this was
he left the Jackson place.
Okay, so this was highly debated. I've been following this highly debated because it's like, is he a sellout for leaving a HBCU and going to a white college to take his talents there? That was highly debated. FD's going to go into his opinion on it.
Son with him. Now you might think that once he got
to say he said he took his son with him
to Colorado, he would shrink back down and play the game, but no, he was still very much Coach Prime. He didn't play the humble, grateful Negro, just happened to have an opportunity. He felt like he deserved the opportunity, and he did not play by the normal rules. He brought rappers and celebrities to Colorado, and as usual, he backed it up. Colorado had won 1 game before he got there, but 2 years later, they won 9 and were close to being in the college football playoffs, even though they had still on paper a far inferior team than much of their competition. What this shows is that Deion historically has a very specific way of dealing with the white ran power systems around him, whether it be the media, the NFL, the NCAA, or whatever. He will submit to the will of the system, but he's going to have fun and do it his own way while he's inside of it. And you will respect him for his ability to deliver on his braggadocious personality, because he is going to work harder and be better than most everyone in his lane.
So are you guys disappointed with him making that move?
Yes. I need to know more about it, and I am sure you are absolutely right.
What did she say?
When we finish this, I'm going to be going down the rabbit hole on this. But yeah, I want to know more as to, okay, why did he not stay at Jacksonville? Was it just about money? Like, I want to know before I cast aspersions on his character. But so far, I'm pissed. So yeah, let's see.
He broke down and said that if he'd have stayed, the reason why everyone was scared is because the most important players are black, and if they all start going to black universities, all the money's going to be fed into those instead of the white university. So I'm a little bit pissed, but I want to hear the rest of it as well.
Okay, let's go.
Deion is not going to let anyone not treat him with the respect he thinks he deserved. I'll never forget the interview that he left as a head coach, and when a reporter thought it'd be funny to refer to him as Deion instead of Coach Deion.
Hey, Deion, I was just wondering if you could...
Oh, let's back up a little bit. You don't call Nick Saban Nick. Don't call me Deion. Treat me like Nick.
Okay, Deion.
That's Deion Sanders in a nutshell. And it would seem that this energy rubbed off into all 3 of his sons, with SHEDEUR being the youngest and most talented of them all. But SHEDEUR didn't inherit his father's elite athleticism, as I said earlier, but he did inherit his hard work ethic, commitment to excellence, good looks, and of course, his swag and ego. But the issue is that while Deion earned his spot the hard way, the way the institutions like the NFL want their players to earn, SHEDEUR had the audacity to get his spot the same way many far less talented white men have gotten throughout American history or even world history. SHEDEUR is a good player, but he's also a Nepo baby. Regardless of his ability as a player, that is the truth. His best qualities as a QB, accuracy, touch passing, understanding the pocket, yada, 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 that comes from having the best trainers that a player can buy for his entire life, literally being friends with Tom Brady. SHEDEUR isn't the first player to have a former player as a father. Plenty of others can say that their fathers were players, other players drafted high, but only a few have a father who was as visible, as involved, and as demonstrative of their involvement as Deion Sanders, an unworthy type of black that Deion was giving. I saw someone post once that if SHEDEUR Sanders was the son of a single mother with 6 kids and no father, the NFL media would love showering him with all the attention and praise about his resilience and character. But instead, SHEDEUR acts like entitled trust fund kids have acted throughout history. He doesn't act like anyone is doing him any favors by including him or giving him the spot that he's in. From where he sits, he has the talent to be where he is, and his daddy paid his way into that. And I think it's ironic and very hypocritical that so many people are mad at this, but I understand that white people have always hated this level of mimicry when we do it. I'd argue this is also why Bronny James got so much negativity this year. People were calling him undeserving and not an NBA talent. But when you look at his stats, especially in the G League with other developmental players, it's clear he belonged there. It's just that some people do not like this image of a dominant black father figure paving the way through force and influence for their sons. That's not how this is supposed to work. Black people have never been meant to participate in this country in the same way that white people do. To be clear, this is not me defending rich kid behavior or the ego-driven actions of Deion or even LeBron for that matter. I'm not a nepotism fan, but I can't stand the pearl clutching from the professional sports world at the idea that someone's son that maybe isn't as good as their dad will have more than they maybe earn, because that's what's been happening since the beginning of time. Like a third of sports teams and coaches are ran by families. Marty Schottenheimer's son is a head coach right now. I don't even know that dude's name. I know his last name is Schottenheimer though. But let's table the dad talk for a second and like get back to SHEDEUR compared to his peers, because that's where we really get to see the actual racism in play. And people clearly aren't like wise enough to catch this. People are like, well, SHEDEUR was too arrogant to work out and he didn't take interviews seriously while other QBs did, and he didn't throw at the combine like other QBs did. No, they didn't. Multiple players that got drafted well ahead of SHEDEUR Sanders did not work out at the combine. All they did was interview and maybe do 1 or 2 drills. So there's rumors that in those interviews, SHEDEUR came off arrogant, and it does seem like one of those people that he came off arrogant to was Giants coach Brian Daboll. But I have to wonder how much of this is SHEDEUR actually being a dickhead and how much of it is people projecting that on him because he's a black man who wasn't taught to shrink in front of white people. By the way, the quarterback that the Giants actually...
So just to establish that when they're being courted to being drafted, they've got to do the rounds. And it's like the Oscars campaign. It's like
Oscars, yeah.
Kind of like what Monique went through, what you have to play ball. Well, not just Monique, other people, like just you have to play ball to get involved and then you get picked. It's that kind of...
Yeah. You're interviewing. You're supposed to be selling yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, selling yourself is subjective on who is interpreting what the sell is. He may have felt I'm selling myself by giving you an insight into my personality. But if they want you to be the humble Negro and you have confidence, that's going to be like, no, he was a terrible interviewee.
Yeah.
It's a problem. They literally do hate the levels of. And it's only ever like 3 or 4 people that manage to get there where their kids are even in the room as well. But they still hate that.
Yeah.
When there's like black legacy, they hate it. Like, because they know, it spreads. And I get it as a human, when you're not the hottest shit. Yeah, you are going to be scared because you are like, look, they're already dominating. If they start dominating with legacy, it's long for us. But for you,
they don't want it.
They don't want it. Let's go.
We took Jackson Dart. Here's what he looked like talking to John Gruden in this meeting.
Stand up. Let me see your snap count. Let me be honest with you. I see a U.S.
blocky
guy.
You ready?
Yeah. I want to hear the snap count.
Yeah.
Do you have like a dummy clap or anything?
Yeah, we call it purple.
What's that? No shit.
Yeah.
So you tell me if this meeting was all that important. To me, this is related to something that Arian Foster made in one of my older videos about football. A lot of y'all motherfuckers didn't watch. In that players become character problems, not specifically because they do crime and do really fucked up shit. Those players are often protected and kept into the system until they get caught. No, character problem players are players that the coaches have to treat like equals, or they demand to be treated better and not be yelled at and cursed and screamed at. It is possible that SHEDEUR didn't do those interviews well, and I'll come back to that. I do believe that. But I can't not recognize that there's always a bias against Black players coming in and not being humble enough to some of these teams. People don't understand that so much of racism is biases that you don't even know you have. And I've seen this play out. I knew the scrutiny and hate for SHEDEUR Sanders was getting weird when I saw a tweet about a video between him and the #1 QB in the draft, Cam Ward. And the tweet's caption reads, SHEDEUR Sanders trash talking Cam Ward's game. But when you watch the video, it's actually Cam Ward trash talking SHEDEUR Sanders.
They gave you a completion percentage awards, and all you did was throw check downs and bubble screens. That's actually crazy. If I did that, my completion percentage would be 90. Get water, we ain't even done with the first drill. Let's go. That's how it is in Colorado, though. Inside the numbers, top. That's what it's like for a 9-win man.
Now, I don't know. Maybe this professional journalist, I guess, can't tell SHEDEUR and Cam Ward apart, but I don't believe that was the case. I believe this person knew that by making that the tweet, that there will be people already primed to tear SHEDEUR down because they don't like how SHEDEUR acts, because he's not supposed to be entitled to act like that. This tweet is still up, by the way. It has not been deleted, even though it's dead wrong. And now there's like a community note correcting it, and there's people at the top of, you know, the tweets saying that this is dumb and wrong. But I remember when it first happened, and most of the people in the comment section were tearing SHEDEUR down for something he literally did not do. And to date, this tweet has almost 20,000 likes and 1,000 shares. This tweet being up with no correction is not an accident, it's a choice. Folks understand, going all the way back to Muhammad Ali, that a certain type of Black presentation will always produce a specific type of reaction from white people. And that's the type of Black person that seems like they don't care about white people's approval.
Answer the question.
Yeah, when he was like 112 pounds.
Just answer the question.
Because he turned pro when he was a teenager.
Did Pacquiao been knocked? Have he been knocked out twice?
Yeah, like a decade ago.
Answer the question.
A decade ago.
And just answer. I don't care if it's 100 years ago. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Have Pacquiao been outboxed by Eric Morales?
What, one fight he lost to him?
Answer the question.
Yes, he did.
Has he been outboxed by Eric Morales?
Yes.
That's all I need to know.
So why would you fight him?
Ask you another question.
So why not fight him right away?
Now I want to ask you another question.
Easy.
Now I want to ask you another question.
Go ahead.
Who's beating me?
Nobody's beating you
Act
yet.
like that as a Black man, white people will hate you, especially if you're good at whatever it is you do. Now, this is not to shade Cam Ward. He's a baller. He's a great prospect. I wish him well. And I love his story of perseverance in the face of adversity and not getting enough opportunities. He was from a small town in Texas. Both his parents are in the picture, but his like future in the NFL, that's going to be transformative for his entire family. There are countless players like Cam coming from hard backgrounds, using sports to transform their trajectories. And he should be rewarded and celebrated for that. But understand the NFL loves those types of stories and tells them all the time because they contribute to a specific narrative and image of Blackness that always exists below whiteness. Yes, stories like Cam's are inspirational, but they are meant to reaffirm how Black men should be seen in this country. Docile, grateful for the benevolence of white people, magical even in their special talents and the things they can do, but definitely not a threat, not someone who might rock the boat or shock the system that they're forced to participate in. So no, just because Cam Ward and Jalen Milroe are Black, that does not invalidate the racial aspect of this, because they represent a type of Black man who has always been allowed a level of access to white power in America. I'm not calling them sellouts. They're just too talented to ignore and exclude, but they are either willing to or just naturally conform to the way that the NFL wants their league to look. This is the reason why Lamar Jackson has always faced weird, low-key racist scrutiny, while Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts, both of whom he is much better than, Super Bowl and playoff wins notwithstanding, but they have never been disrespected in the same way that Lamar Jackson is. And Lamar Jackson, like SHEDEUR, is not disrespectful is not a off the field problem, is a leader, has not gotten into any trouble, but you can tell when these white reporters talk to Lamar that he does not feel like he needs to be grateful in their presence. From his perspective, they should be grateful to be in his, and they resent him for that. And this is not new. In 2011, when Cam Newton was the obvious first round pick for the NFL, there was an interview where the then owner of the Panthers talked about the way they wanted him to present to the world.
In a recent interview on the Charlie Rose Show on PBS, the 75-year-old Richardson recounted a conversation he had with the 22-year-old Heisman Trophy winning quarterback on April 4th, in which he asked Newton if he had any tattoos or piercings. When Newton replied, "No, sir, I don't have any," Richardson told Rose he told the quarterback, "Good, we want to keep it that way. Don't change your personality. It'll be good for the team. I could do without the tattoos, though." In the Charlie Rose Show interview, Richardson also said that Newton said he was thinking about growing out his hair. Richardson said he responded, "I think you have a very nice haircut." Ugh.
Cam went on to have a very successful career in the NFL, but at a certain point after this, he realized something that every Black person should understand, especially if you're watching what's happening to SHEDEUR. But you really should know this before you leave high school.
At what point was it for you that you were just like, you know, fuck them, I'm gonna do me, I'm gonna be my total self, caring less about what people think?
Rebellious bug.
Yeah.
Right after the Super Bowl, that's when I had my revelation that I'm still a nigga. Like, if you remember that year, they were making it a big fuss about celebrating. And if you go back in the backstory, when we played the Cowboys, was I did like the twist, right? But that was me saying, I'm gonna do a dance that y'all know. I had a clean shave, I had the ball fade, I had this, but still to y'all eyes, I'm still a nigga. Bro, you win your way, I win my way. Like, there's multiple ways to win though. Yeah. You feel me? Like that's what makes us unique. So after the Super Bowl year for me, I started to realize, like, bro, whether I got a haircut and trying to blend in or not, y'all still gonna look at me like I'm a nigga. So I might as well just be who I really am.
So yes, going into this draft season, SHEDEUR and Dion,
you can like draw. This is standardly for footballers. This is literally all Black footballers go through this. Like, there is so much talent out there, but there is, and it goes back to the term that makes everybody laugh when you said it, the accessible Black. Yeah. Like, that Black that they can deal with, they are usually the ones that will make it far in football. It's always about who's compliant, that you're going to listen to them, that you're going to be super grateful, and they love a poverty story. Same as in music. They love that rags to riches because they know you will have lots of holes within your mindset that they can just trick you. They can do shit because you're so susceptible and so grateful that this is happening for you. They don't want another layer. They actually don't even really want middle class people in that space. No. They generally want it to be like a single parent out here, been homeless a couple of times, all of that. They love that. They lap that up. And if you got a bit of talent, cool. But even sometimes they will put you forward. There are some subpar footballers who are just deemed as, but they're highly trainable and, you know, malleable, and they're not going to give us any trouble. Where you can tell somebody, don't cut your hair. Mm-hmm. Like cut your hair. Like, don't grow your hair. Don't get tattoos. And they're going to be like, okay, boss. Yeah, absolutely not.
It's that. It's just so relatable, and it's something that is ingrained in everywhere. Something as innocent as sport. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, essentially, it should be innocent.
Sport is big money.
I know, and it's something. And when they say don't bring politics into sport, but yet you, like, Colin Kaepernick is still out there. Politics. Well, he's still looking for it to be drafted because he took a stand. He took a stand on something that's actually happening. You get people penalized for doing a little dance. They introduced, I think it was all sports people out, you have to wear a suit, because when the Black players were playing wearing hoodies and designer outfits and stuff like that, like streetwear, they were like, no, you have to wear a suit unless, and then you're going to be fined. All these things to control the buck.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's a brilliant video, and it's very, very relatable content to everything that's going on. Everything.
I can't believe like the celebrations after a touchdown.
Because it's arrogance. It's showing not humility. It's showing that, but then it's like the bosses, the leaders are also not humble. They actually arrogantly show that we own these Negroes. We own them. Mm-hmm. That's okay. Cam Newton, yeah, because I remember I used to really fancy Cam Newton back in the day, and then any comments that you want to get to?
Ray Rillo just said, but isn't it their system that they built for themselves? They just gaslight us that we are equals in their setup. I don't even think it even. No, because if the participants are black and they're making all the money, it basically is just another form of a slavery. So you've built it and you'll give people a bit of money, but they have to adapt. If we're all participating in this, there has to be some type of adaptations. I just wish more black folk stood on business.
Yeah.
Then it wouldn't be able to carry on.
I think Strike 22 is in response to Dion moving from the NCAA to a mainstream, I guess, a white college. He also helped with the discussion of players in college getting paid, and now these kids are millionaires by the NCAA in college. They never used to get paid before. So it's that conversation of sometimes where, but I don't know, because I feel like it felt like a quick move. After he got success at the HBCU, then he moved to the mainstream. I've seen debates about it. I can't articulate all the sides very well. You guys are going to have to go down your rabbit holes.
I saw earlier on somebody was saying that Jacksonville was actually misappropriating funds.
Okay.
So I will watch a couple of things on this there because it's quite interesting.
I wanted to, and also to ask you too about nepotism, because it's a conversation I've been trying to get on the docket for a while, for like even from last year, year before. And I think it was a conversation, I can't remember who it was led by, when we're looking at celebrities that are related to each other and the fact that they get into the business. And we now are, the more successful we get, we are in line to have Nepo kids, right? Our kids, my daughter, I think, is a bit of a Nepo baby. It's just that we're not thriving enough to be like, to actually be. My child is part of two successful parents who are in the public eye, kind of not super.
But she's not though, because she doesn't want to do that.
No, but she's still. I'm just saying, but she's still a Nepo baby. If she was out there as an it girl and had that side of her, her job stops her from being outside in the way.
That's why she's not a Nepo baby.
Right, on paper, she's a Nepo baby. I'm just.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean, but like, it's really about
the technicals of it. Okay. No, I know, benefiting from the successes of your parents, and she's not in the industry, but she's also part of the community of children, whether you go directly into it or you benefit and have access to things, even if it's just that I can go here, there, and everywhere on my parents' name. I'm just saying, I'm just using it as a baseline example that we are in line to have Nepo children. Do you know what I'm saying? So how do you feel about potentially having Nepo children versus how you might have felt about looking at other maybe white children that have got successful on the back of their parents?
It's generational wealth. It's just another form of it.
Okay.
That's it. That's all that it is. Like, if we haven't had the benefit of generational wealth, and you're supposed to create a legacy for your children to benefit from. That's all that it is. If my daughter wants to go down the route of working in film and TV or doing something like this in the creative form, and she wants to ride off the back of my coattails, then you crack on and you do it. You still got to work hard. You still got to achieve stuff yourself. It's not just, it shouldn't be handed to her on a platform, but on a platter. But the fact that she has a stepping stone, that's what we want. I don't want my daughter to have to work down and deep in the dirt like I've had to do. That's the whole point of generational wealth, no? I want her to understand the value of a pound and all of those things. But the idea is that we should do something so that our children can benefit from it. So I don't care.
Have you ever?
Yeah. I wouldn't even. I think it's actually important. It's why you create legacy. It's like even taking Boy Blue, like Michael and Kenrick actually creating Boy Blue, and Kenrick's kids going to my kids going. It's like, that's why they would do that you can be on stages, and then the kids that come after you can benefit from you guys, from their work, to then be the next future dancers. It's what you want. It's like, Akai is doing really well, his uncles see him, and it's like, we're going to push you here, we're going to put you on that stage. That's why we do it all. I think there is still always hard work. I think where it has such a bad rep is when you can get a job purely just because of, this person or your dad or mum did it before you. that's when the strings of it fall apart. There has to be some type of talent behind it. Like, I don't know how good Lucian Grange's son is that has taken over part of Universal, but if he is an effective leader and he's a really good music exec, then it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have it, but if it's just handed, like the royal family to me is the most redundant form of. It's stupid. You have foolish inbred people just becoming king because absolutely not. Like,
yeah, I agree. I mean, Stephen A is saying I'm really disagree. Farrah, but many of us in the UK would be viewed by our cousins back home as nepo babies by virtue of having opportunities in the West that they can't access. And I think that's what I meant in. There's the very literal taking the job that your parents have done because your parents are in it and you get access. And there's also the reaping the benefits of having generational wealth. And yes, it could be that's expansion. And I would say that because my daughter, I put her on the red carpet. I just said, you've got some sort of talent. And people say that about Blue Ivy. They watched her not be that great at dancing to now becoming really much better at dancing. And her daughter, what? And I said, because I have some friends that were really critical of that. And I was like,
no, I think for me, there's pushing your child to do something that they don't want to do at all. And then there's your child seeing you and being inspired by the things that you do and wanting to do it. And then there's also you like, let's take your child, for example. You said she's got something, you put her on the red carpet, but that's not what she wants to do. So she's gone off and she's done something else. Yeah. So there's you acknowledging that. You haven't then said to her, no, you're not doing that. You're not gonna be a nurse. You're gonna be on the red carpet. You haven't done that. So it's acknowledging.
But someone's, just for example, and which is what my friends were saying about Beyonce and having her Blue Ivy on there when she wasn't in quotes ready, in their opinion. Someone might have seen my child on the carpet, like, why is it? We have been working hard. We're doing this. We're doing that, and I potentially
because it's your platform. Well, I'm just saying, it's your platform. I understand, but there's a difference between.
Let me finish what I'm saying.
All right, go on.
I was going to say that someone might see and say, okay, why is she there? Regardless of it's my platform or not, they're seeing that. And I could say, maybe without knowing any backstory, I might see a young child. And I have seen young white influencer kids and they're on the carpet. And it might be because we're so used to it not being for us. I haven't possibly criticized some Nepo looking children before. I'm just saying that I understand some of the, but for us as newly stepping into this space.
For me, it's a bit different. If it's Beyonce's show, it's Beyonce's child. Mm-hmm. It's your platform, it's your child. It's different when you have parents that are pushing people into spaces where they're begging favors from other people or using their influence to get someone into position. Where that, to me, that is the real Nepo baby.
Yeah.
That's what it really is. If you don't have the talent, like if we suddenly started seeing Chet Hanks or whatever the fuck his name is, like appearing in like the biggest selling film ever and he's a shit actor, then we'd be like, what? Who's got him here? That type of thing. And there are a lot of those examples. But I think
like Northwest doing Lion King and she was shit.
Exactly. And then Kim coming out and saying, I know she's shit, but I use my influence to get her in there. That part.
Taking people's places.
Yeah. But then when Kanye's putting her, if we're going to use Northwest, if Kanye wants to sit her in his room, in his studio and make an album, that's his fucking resources. He wants to do it. But it's a bit different when you're using your power for evil. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it's the seeing young children on the red carpet, for example, like the influencers that you said doing it is the same as you having her on your platform. I think that's a bit different. If someone is like in football and they end up only getting getting signed to a football team because of their parent, that's instead of somebody else. I don't like those kind of examples. I think if someone's going to work hard and they truly want to do it, then fair enough.
It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. And also the levels of blackness and success. And because I think there's something in as well, when our children are now going to be successful children, they're not going to be coming up in the way that we came up. They're going to not want for the thing. My daughter really doesn't want for the things that I wanted for when I was younger.
And then equally, we haven't grown up like our parents.
And that's how it should go. I was going to say, there's a conversation that also that the instability of what, or the breaking down the barriers of what it means to be black, because definitely the struggle story, as in this video, was the struggle stories are tied to blackness, tied to being really truly black. But when you come from generational wealth or come from success, like SHEDEUR Sanders, it's like, well, you're not really black. From the black side of things, not necessarily what the racism side of things. It's like, you're not as black, and you haven't struggled, you haven't been through this. So that's why you get.
Who's saying that? Whose rhetoric is that?
But remember that, who was the kid that who, there's a sports player that kept getting into trouble because he kept doing stupid dumb things because he wanted to prove his blackness by getting into trouble.
Yes, with his gun, like he was caught twice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where black people also, I'm moving on the conversation, that black people also, there's this reconciliation of like what it means to be black, and when you're no longer attached to the struggle story, what then does blackness mean? And that feeds into school, education, all that stuff. What does it mean to be black? And especially when you're successful, because that's another thing that we have to also look at, because as
move away from it, because it's not that, like, we just wasn't always, but like the struggle story being sold as our story is basically like what FD was talking about. It's a marketing ploy. It's not everybody's juncture actually that there is this kind of like, it's either you're stupid or you're really cool, or there's a struggle. And it's like, actually, okay, that's a part of blackness, but there's loads of other factions to it. It's not just all about that. And when we play into like that's the black story, we don't allow for all the different experiences of blackness to come through. Like we don't all have that. There are geniuses that walk amongst us, and the fact that there are so many young people that hide that when they're in school, like they play dumb because that's the acceptable face of black, that pisses me off. Actually. Or you can't just have a musician, like, you know, that black family, it's like there's like 7 of them and they all play instruments. They're in orchestra.
Yeah, Shanny Mason. Shanny Masons. Oh, his lead.
No, it's an African name that they've got.
Yeah, sorry, let me get it. I know.
Okay. But yeah, that their family are so overwhelmingly like middle class. But I love them. Yeah. But they don't get celebrated properly in black spaces, because it's like they're not. If they were super poor, then it would be like that we're going to celebrate these guys, because it's going to be like they fought all the odds, and one of their dads was working like 5 jobs in order to get their instruments. It's like we don't all have that story. That's it. They kind of we don't all have that story, and I hate that that's how they sell it. Like we all have to be downtrodden, and then we rise up from the ashes. It's different. It's like my family in Ghana, they weren't super rich or anything, but we had a lot of land, farmland, but we had a lot of land. So there's influence to come over here. So yes, it is like there would be factions of the family that would be like, oh, you guys are privileged, but they're not out here struggling in Ghana either. And that's what even more people to understand. It's not everybody had that story of the parents were running away from something, or no, sometimes it was a new opportunity and you can build more back home as well. It's like that's also
like not everyone comes from a single parent family.
Exactly.
You know.
And also, I think even when I launched a British Blacklist, and I remember someone was saying to me like, "Yeah, your story," and I kind of held it back. Not that it's like everyone's on demand asking me this question, but you saying that, oh, I'm a single mother, it used to weigh on me, because like I don't want that attached to me. But then also I had to grapple with. I'm not embarrassed. I'm actually not ashamed to be raising my child by myself in this. I'm not ashamed of it at all. But I didn't want that to be single mother launches a media platform and but
you see, they love that shit though. They literally do. It is what they push forward. It is like one of my brethrens, that was her story that was continuously put out there. There was parts to her story that she didn't want, because it's like, oh, it's too cliched black. But they lapped on to the single motherhood of it all. And then when she did finally reveal all of the trappings of her life, oh my word, the amount of press. They literally love a black struggle story, because it does keep us at a lower rung. It perception wise, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a mad one. Do you want to get some comments?
Stephen A says, thing is, many of us utilize these stereotypes or may benefit from them indirectly. Is problematic. I know, but I understand the trappings of it. If you selling your story is going to get you more notoriety, which brings in more money, come on, I'm not gonna. I say it all the time. I could add in some bits just for the sake of PR. I like. What can you do, man? We're all out here hustling, I guess, at this moment in time.
Difficult one, and it plays into
very right. I don't know if this is true. It says originally Caribbeans popularized the struggle story.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think so. I think it's white folk.
White people did, and it's the race. There's the stereotypes that they put on them, on Caribbeans that came in the 60s or whenever they first influxed, and they wanted to be racist towards them. That's what they did. And it's like when we had Gooday on, and he was saying that when he was in, and this was, to be fair, tribalistic, because in the predominantly African environment where they were projecting onto him that he came from a single parent household and were questioning his sexuality or criticizing his sexuality. He's like, I came from a 2.4 family. Didn't come from a broken home. I'm me, and this is me. So you can't project that story onto me. No, I don't. I will not. That I reject that too. Look, KW literally says my grandparents had land in Jamaica and were self-sufficient. My nan was also a midwife. They were invited to the UK after the war to work for NHS, and we were treated like shit. That's what's happening.
Okay.
I think individually, not by heritage, by individualism, there is definitely a capitalization on the black struggle. And first of all, it's like when you want to talk about the truth, what's happening, like we talk about gangster rap and the evolution of gangster rap. At first, hip hop was talking about the struggle. And then, yes, there were people that thought, this is making money. And it wasn't just the blacks that saw the capitalization. It was the white record label owners, as we talk about many, many times, that saw, yes, let's sell this narrative of black folks and make money off it. And then when you've got people who are on the, like, as in the video and as we're talking about, when you're from poverty and you're getting presented with all this money and all this potential, you're going to shuck and jive. Some people are just going to shuck and jive.
And lie. Like Biggie out here talking about how he didn't have food, and his mum's like, he's lying.
Yes.
Yeah. And look how big he was. We can see us a lie. You were big from when you were a kid.
I know, he's like that did make me laugh. And he's like to his mum, it's for the songs. It's for the songs.
but then that's what's sold, and it's like chicken and egg. Who do we blame? Because he's like, listen, I know. Yeah, I want to make money and I want to be a famous rapper. So this is the route I'm going to go down. We can cuss him out for that, but then also there's that cycle that he's on. It's not like they were super rich. They came from somewhere. So there's like, I want to literally feed my daughter. I want to get off the roads, and the way to get off the roads and not be in line of maybe getting killed or imprisoned, I'm going to have to do this shit. And it's his truth in that moment, but not the full truth, and their storytelling and all of this stuff. And it kind of leads into
what would we, just quick question.
Go on.
What would we do that could be adjacent to shucking and driving? Where's your limit on, like, I don't know, some big PR firm finds us and they're like, okay, guys, we can really market you guys, but what we need you to do and you to do and you to do is, what's the line? What would you ham up for the bread?
Shit, I don't know, man.
Ham up.
Yeah.
What they could use is my homelessness. They go for that. Go all day.
Okay.
Go all day. She left home at 17. She was homeless. Was in hostels for a long time. She was kicked
would you add in
hostel
for a week? Maybe you slept in a park. Would you allow them to give you that story?
No.
I wouldn't be.
How about the homelessness, isn't it? You don't need to know like how I was homeless. Like if you slept on people's sofas or on their floors, just say she was homeless. The connotations are there.
I could ham up the fostering.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
To feel comfortable enough. I maybe it's a bit of a cheat because it's not something that's too hard to talk about. So you'd have to find something for me to be like, shit, how would I be manipulated by this? Because I could talk about being fostered all day long.
I really can't think of anything I can have. Oh no, I could ham up It's not even a hammer. Talk about my dad. I could say that when he left and then I had to go and find him in Tottenham, maybe it will be more obscure. I could add in some more details, like I knocked on the door, he threw water on me, like I could embellish what took place.
You could say you worked in a sweatshop.
Oh, I worked above a sweatshop, so I worked in a sweatshop.
Yeah. I could say I worked for pittance in a nunnery, was it a convent?
I lived in a convent.
There you go.
Yeah.
My terrible time at a convent school.
My terrible time living in a convent.
Yeah. There we go.
PR companies, we got stories actually. We could do property stories, man. I mean, the time I had to go into Tottenham, into the deep, dark depths of Tottenham to find my dad.
There you go. Being the only black in the village, how my racism story turned into survival in London. Being the only Negro in the village.
KW said you win, Farrah. There we go.
When the moms locked me out and I was on the streets. True story.
What do you people understand the struggle story? But yeah, it's and the thing is, it's awful that it's been labeled as a struggle story. It's just that it was hard coming up, and now we're here. Starting from the bottom, now we're here for real. Like it's become marketable. It's got a tagline. Just as that, this young boy I couldn't find a video, and it was interesting what story makes the news and what doesn't, what makes the videos and what doesn't. But this young lad was, I'm just trying to share the screen so you can see a picture of him, was annoyingly, The Guardian, I shouldn't say annoyingly because I do use The Guardian a lot. The Guardian has finally said if you don't want to pay for ads, you've got to accept all our cookies.
Oh, they're all doing it now. I've just been accepting them. I'm just like,
now I'm kind of getting over it. I'm just like, oh fuck it, all right then.
Yeah, because I'm not giving any of them money. So
I refuse to to them. But yeah, Guardian, I've been riding with the Guardian for a little minute. So this young guy, Adedeji, he's a 21-year-old from Manchester who spent over 3 years in prison for a crime he did not commit after being wrongly identified in a drill music video. His conviction was quashed earlier this year, reigniting concerns about how Black youth and their culture are criminalised in the UK justice system. He was 17 when he sent just 11 messages in a group chat, including a postcode. Again, is apparently saying the postcode of some ops or some argument that was going on. He was then sentenced to 8 years for alleged conspiracy. His supposed gang links were proven using a music video that he wasn't even in. His wrongful conviction was overturned only after public pressure and new evidence emerged. Campaigners warn that rap lyrics and drill videos are disproportionately used against young black defendants without expert analysis or context. And despite being cleared, Addy has received no official support or compensation and is now calling for legal reform, youth investment, and an end to racial profiling in courtrooms. So is the UK criminal justice system failing Black youth by misusing cultural expression as criminal evidence? Sorry.
This is the correct. This story just sent chills. That you said he was a part of a gang, and because he was in a music video that he isn't even in, and you're going on kids in a group chat that can get you banged up for 3 years. Mm-hmm. Kids in a group chat chatting shit, a music video that he ain't even in, that you say he is in, but it was the wrong person, and he isn't due compensation. Like, so just 3 years of his youth have just gone for bans. No, that's crazy. That is absolutely crazy.
Like, did they play the video in? I need to know more about this, because how are you convicting him of a crime using the video? You would have had to play the video in court, no? And at no point in time did anyone analyze it and say, well, that he's not actually in it. Like, I'm so confused by what actually happened. And it's at a pivotal time in his life. From 17 to 21, you banged him up amongst people who he didn't need to be around. At all.
And it seems like he was in education anyway. Like, from what I was reading, it was like he wasn't even like on road.
hold on. So let me just quickly skim through the story. So he said he was a head boy at school, a youth leader, and had offers to study law at university and plans for a book. I feel like it has got to do with race, because if a white person said what I said, I don't think they'd be in the same position as me. They wouldn't. Adeji said, because I'm perceived as black, I'm seen as aggressive and a gang member. Well, I'm not. He said he could vividly remember the moment when he was told he would be finally going home after spending more than 3 years. They've done, 1,200 days in prison. I didn't believe it. I remember tearing up. The whole wing, the whole jail knew about my case. Everyone was rooting for me, he said. So when the news came in, the place just erupted. Everyone was smiling, laughing. Music was playing. And he said his last time he saw his mum cry was when he was found guilty. And he said, as we know, with families, when one person goes into jail, you feel like you're doing that sentence with them. So she was obviously relieved. I'm just trying to skim through. So his barrister, Keir Monteith KC, said that for the first time since his successful appeal against his conviction, before they took part in the Stephen Lawrence Research annual lecture at the pair discussed the bittersweet feeling. Right. From a moral and legal point of view, all convictions should be quashed in this case, said Monteith. The prosecution were using predominantly against young lads of good character, evidence that wouldn't see the light of day if they were white young lads. Keir looks like he's a mixed race guy or black guy. Monteith is a founding member of the campaign Art Not Evidence, which is calling for a stop to rap lyrics and music videos being used as evidence in UK trials. He says, I'm pretty sure they had about a day playing drill tracks in the court. The prosecution made the assertion that the evidence showed they were involved in a gang, but they didn't have a police officer saying that. They didn't have an expert saying that. Things like where Ade lives, his interest in music, who he knocks around with, that's enough to prove he's in a gang, ? Adeji said he felt that the older generation didn't know that what real drill rap was and perceive it to be a bad thing. He said, but it's not. It's just people expressing their feelings. It would be a poem or spoken word if the beat wasn't so hard, and that wouldn't be a problem. So just over the actual thing what happened, the teenagers were accused of conspiring to murder or seriously harm people they believed had been responsible for killing one of their friends, an aspiring rapper called John Soyoye. None of those named as targets in a group chat were hurt, although 2 of the other defendants did go on to attack other boys. Adeji, who was 17, go on. Sorry, I heard noise. Adeji, who was 17 at the time.
I don't know why you're.
But what's happening? I can hear noise. That's why. Sorry. So he's talking about, they're just going over what happened. He apparently posted 11 messages in the chat, one of which was a postcode for where one of the alleged targets lived, although nothing happened at that location. When he was sentenced to 8 years, he was 19. When he came out of prison at 21, he's missed out a significant part of his transition into adulthood. He said, I've not had a youth. I've not done certain things. I've not been clubbing. I've not been on a lad's holiday. I've never had a cocktail. I haven't got my driving lessons. It's fucked up. And because his conviction was quashed, he hasn't received the support offered to offenders leaving prison, and returning to his old life has been a slow process. Most of the things that I said I was going to do, I've still not done because I'm still readjusting to being outside. One thing I have been doing is walking to the shops, because you don't have that privilege to walk wherever you want inside a prison. I'm focused on the bigger thing. I'm not so focused on the bigger things anymore. I'm more focused on the little things, because when you're inside, you realize what really matters to you. Spending time with your friends, family, and enjoying life, because I've had too much stress in my life. He does want to go to university, and he wants to write a book about how the judicial system affects children of color. And that's it. He's saying that they're closing down youth centers and building more prisons. How does that make sense? I think I saw a story about a massive prison being built in the UK. I saw a story about that the other day. But yeah, that's kind of the story.
I'll just take the Red Golden Child says a lot of young black men have been murdered because of drill music lyrics. Sorry, this innocent guy lost 3 years. There is a problem with the music. Stephen A says, not gonna lie, the day any of my sons are involved in any drill rap music rap video music production is the day I have failed. And Will Smith says, yeah, the whole drill being a form of expression like spoken word is disingenuous. I'm sorry.
It's an interesting. When I saw that line, I was like, it's drill specifically, that we know that where drill comes from. In the UK version of drill, we know that there's a specific kind of style to it. There's you can have the beat, but the initial original origins of drill, it was that kind of back and forth gang war.
But regardless of any of that, The point here with this story is they used drill music to sentence this young man when they didn't actually know anything about what he had done, where he was, and what was going on. So there is a point of it's being used in a way that is not right. Whether or not you think that you have issues with drill music, not everyone that listens to drill music is a criminal or has criminal intentions. So to assume that you are a criminal and have criminal intentions because you listen to that music, it shouldn't be done in the court of law. That's the point in this case.
Yeah. It just seems weird because he's in there for 11 messages and dropping in a postcode for somebody. And if there was no damage done in that postcode to whoever it was that he was talking about, why was he convicted for 8 years? Because surely that's a clean, if something had happened, then I understand that even if you weren't there at that moment, if you gave the details for it, it is precisely as I stand on the round them all up. If you have an involvement in a happening that takes place and somebody lost their life, you got to go. But if nothing took place there, why was he sentenced? That just seems like the weirdest. We're going to, come on, everybody chat shit in groups, especially as a teenager. Like, we had a whole master plan was going to beat that one girl when I was in uni. It never happened. It's just talk. But you can't convict me on chat. Yeah. There has to have been an actual physical damage done to the girl for me to be locked up for. Like, it's like, come on now. This feels crazy.
It's too.
And compensation. Yeah. I can't. You can't just let somebody out and be like, okay, we're quashing that. No, you need to pay me as well.
But that's where they tap into you. Where's the money? You know that these families not got money. You've got to go back to court. You've got to then put either a civil or whatever case you need to put together. And that takes money. That takes time, takes resources. They know that no one's going to do anything. Or maybe he will. Maybe he will have the support to do that. And although now they get away with it because people do GoFundMes and crowdsourcing and crowdfunding and all that type of stuff. I think there's two lanes of conversation because you're right, absolutely right. That you shouldn't be criminalized on this thing, that the boy didn't even actually do anything. And there is the other conversation. Yes, the drill music is a problem, and not everyone is involved, but there is a problem with it. It's just two conversations that can be had. This boy did not deserve to lose 3 years of his life, and furthermore get an 8-year sentence because if he wasn't freed, if they didn't decide to overturn it, I know you don't do the full bird, but 8 years, a manslaughter charge, and as he said, his conviction has been quashed. So he's coming out and he's still finding it hard to rebuild, let alone the fact that when you do come out and you have got that attachment to you, how you do rebuild, but let alone you have not got that crime anymore. You haven't got that record anymore, but you're still finding it hard to rebuild. The boy's got PTSD, like you're now, and you see how they quenched his hopes and dreams. I no longer look at the bigger picture. I'm looking at the little things. That is how you then squash someone's mind, a young black boy's mind, to now not look bigger and have hopes and dreams. He's now looking at one foot in front of the other, instead of looking at his oyster. That is disgusting. Just to talk about the prison, just because there's this is the prison that's been built. It's called Psych. This is a document. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but this is the prison.
We have an ambition in the Ministry of Justice that we are working on strategies to ensure that we punish offenders effectively so that we can reduce crime.
I can no word about rehabilitation there.
Looking as far as I can see and thinking, goodness me, we've got a challenge on our hands.
Sorry, I know this is being
really trying to do this,
but like it's oh my god, it's like we're going to build a hospital for 50. She's actually smiling and emotional about a prison. Did you see her face and her expression?
Yeah.
How are we going to do this? Fuck off. Why do we need a documentary about this?
So it's going to house 1,468 prisoners once it's full. I'm Claire Gilmore. I'm part of the team that has designed and constructed HMP Mill Site, and we're taking a tour today so we can see inside some of the buildings, why we designed it and why we're really excited to be opening the first all-electrical prison.
You know what? Yeah, I beg you stop. I can't because these people are going on like they're building homes for the homeless.
Yeah.
Do
you see that way?
Building homes for the homeless. It's going to house 1,400 prisoners.
Yeah.
It's the first one that's electric. Fully, you're not go and build fucking homes for the fucking homeless.
Exactly.
What the hell?
You see what they're doing with this white women thing? All women in general, like this is like when they bring out like a black man to sell off black people, to make it like more palatable, like this is a good thing. It's like, oh my god, there's women involved in it. Like, you could be as evil as they come. And then having the pink haired one to be like, oh my god, even like eccentrics are involved in this. Yes. Like it's gonna be an alternative prison, like it's all electric. They're gonna what are you selling us here? Exactly. What is this?
I've skipped to the challenges of designing and building a prison.
Came along just to have a look at the land, and it was absolutely just vast amounts of fields.
We had an area on a map where the prison was going to sit. So the first challenge really is, how are the buildings going to sit on this land? Because the relationships between the buildings is important.
It's an extremely large, complicated site. It's 51 acres, which is about 11 hectares. Most people say, what does that look like in reality? And it's about 39 football pitches.
No, I've not.
So there are 6 house blocks on this site. So it's going to house 1,468 prisoners once it's full.
House blocks are amazing. They are huge, but they are huge in a way that actually are so conducive to running them.
The cross was an important shape that we locked down in the design process. We want usable outside space. We want to think about when we get into the cells and onto the landings, we want to make sure that staff can see prisoners, that they can see not just them at a distance, but they can see what mood they might be in, or what's going on for them, or how they're interacting with others. So by having this cross
in America where they're kind of all in glass boxes. So they're always being surveillance. Like, you see how just the softly spoken woman can like deliver this to us, so that we're all like, this is really nice.
Exactly. And it's lovely. All electric. What category prison is this, by the way? Do we know?
Let me find out. I'll Google. I'll play.
They are very compact buildings on very small spikes. They were built hundreds of years ago, literally. So we have to try and, first of all, maintain a building that's no longer really fit for purpose.
So
the other thing very important for staff is noise. Those old Victorian prisons can be very, very noisy. We do lots of things with new prisons to try and manage that noise.
So
inside the cell, it's a Cat C.
It's a Cat C. Okay.
So, welcome to one of the single cells in HMP Millsike. People do spend upwards of 12 hours a day in the cells. These windows give plenty of natural light, but they don't have some of the security concerns that we have with some of our old style windows. So these don't open. That's important because we know that drone delivery is a problem, and we've designed that out.
So it's that balance again.
So much bad luck.
And also, they're promoting a career in prison construction and design. If you want a job, you can get a job in prison construction and design.
Prison construction.
Yeah. These are the chapters. I won't play anymore, but it's the chapters that they've got. A career in prison destruction and design, construction design, how prison affects the community, prison categories explained, rehabilitation. Okay, let me just go to the rehabilitation and job skills in prison, see what they say.
Yeah, let's see what they're going to make.
Biggest factors that will change people's life is employment. If people gain, secure and maintain employment, they're far less likely to reoffend. And that means that we need to build skills. We need to think about those skills through the lens of what does our local communities need? And then we need to mirror that in the design and the operation. So we've got workshop buildings that hold upwards of 500 prisoners during a day to deliver work opportunities.
We were taking some pics of the window cleaners. So we're off to the workshop, really important building. We've actually provided 8 heavy industry workshops and 8 light industry workshops with a view that prisoners can actually choose what they want to learn. But also it means that they leave their cell in the morning and technically they're kind of coming to work, and that's what you kind of want to do. You kind of want to instill that ethos and that ethic back into their lifestyle.
We've got to have the habits and the personal attributes that means that we can get ourselves up in the morning, dressed on time, get us packed lunch, travel to work and be there on time. And practicing that discipline in a structured environment like a prison means somebody is much, much more likely to be able to translate that into the community once they're released.
Are they going to get a job in
from all of our research, etc., that having employment on release reduces the chance of them reoffending by 9 percentage points. Now, that is huge, actually, in terms of individual factors that can change someone's reoffending. But if you're asking me why you think employment makes a difference, it sort of stands to reason for me in lots of ways that if you want to have someone who is contributing and feels part of society, they must be part of it. And having a job allows you to be integrated, feel valued, take home pay for your work, etc. And that's what starts to contribute to a feeling that employment is useful and you don't have to go back to crime.
Okay, I can get with that. I totally mean it.
Yeah.
I can get with that.
I just don't believe them for a second. I think that space will be used to make things, and it will be sold, and we know what they're doing. We know what they're doing. They want to keep this industrial complex going and have people in prison making goods.
Because the thing is, I agree with her in the aspect of, like, if prisoners have got jobs, then the chances of them reoffending are less. But what are they doing in the communities that she's talking about to make sure that the prisoners do get jobs? Are they doing contracts with the people that they're that have the factories and all of these things to get them jobs into the community? Or is it just that you're training them in these labours, and then when they go out, they've got to fend for themselves and try to get a job, where most of the time they can't, because by the time that they put on the application that they have a criminal record, they're dismissed. Like, so what is it? How are you helping outside of the actual prison walls? What are you doing in the community?
Yeah. It's unfortunate, and the thing is, I think my disgust, maybe this, I don't. Am I being too woo-woo? We don't need a documentary about how to build a prison. Maybe there's people in the construction industry, maybe that is a thing, but to me, it's morally mad to have a documentary and having them talk about, like, as we are saying, like they're building homes for the homeless or a hospital or something that's so lovely and wonderful. I think that's sick. What this documentary should have been is that this prison is being built. It's a CCAT, so it's a lower security than the A's and the B's. And also focusing on the rehabilitation. That's a documentary I want to see, that how this new building, this new prison that's going to house 1,500 prisoners is going to help reintegrate these prisoners into society. What are you doing with that? Rather than, well, how hard is it to build a building and getting, as you said, women to sell the propaganda. That is such a ploy, and getting to be, it
really was. Even the pink hair one with the piercing was just all the eclectic, the older woman, like cuddly mother type of, it's just such a big site. It's just so traveling. It's like, no, we don't. No one's falling for this shit at all.
Okay, so as we wrap up, I like to go and see what the robots are up to. There is a conference called NVIDIA, and they took a look at some of the humanoid robots that are out there. I'm continuously scared.
Here at NVIDIA GTC for a very special on-the-ground edition of What the Future. As you can see, there's a lot of great robots here. We're going to show you all the humanoid robots that we saw and some we didn't. Let's get into it.
NVIDIA GTC brought out robots I'd never seen in person before, like Neo Gamma, familiar faces performing new feats like Digit, and leading humans in the robotics business. We caught up with industry leaders from Boston Dynamics, Agility Robotics, 1X. Oh, wow. 1X had its Neo Gamma robot on display in a home-like environment, picking up a watering can, posing for pictures with the crowd, and vacuuming.
We're coming for you, Romba. Watch out.
1X co-founder and CEO Bonds Bernick told us the demo involved a mix of autonomy and human operation, or as he called it, mixed autonomy.
In the beginning, in your home, the first few days, there will be a lot of teleoperation. You just want to bootstrap to where you can get the robot to successfully do the thing.
Why?
Often enough. That is useful.
Once the robot starts being successful in performing its new task often enough, Bernick says it will start autonomously improving, learning from its own failures.
What we are selling now in 2025 is not Rosie the robot. It's a journey to Rosie the robot. And if you want to be part of that journey, like I always wanted to be that since I was a kid, then this is for you.
1X says its Neo robot will cost less than a car and start being deployed to paying customers later this year. Right next door,
train the robot. No, I want the robot to come fully doing the stuff.
Yeah, it's going to learn. But anyway,
any free items from the shelf, put them in its basket, and return it.
All of the items on the grocery shelf behind us were ones that we picked up here while we were at GTC. We literally went to a grocery store locally, got a bunch of items off the shelf that we had never seen before.
If you notice some beeps and boops in the background, that's Digit narrating each step in the process. I downloaded an app called Waiver onto my phone to see if we could physically present at NVIDIA GTC.
Yeah.
The company's CTO.
Okay. I mean, as you know, I just need to keep a check on what's going on in robot world because I'm not ready.
It's coming, man. It's coming. I was watching behind the scenes with Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett, and he's in LA in his Cybertruck, and the truck is just driving him around, and it's just like, look, driverless cars. It's all going to be happening. He will be one that will have a robot. As soon as he seems to love Elon, it's just troublesome in itself. But when robots come along, when Elon deploys them, Stephen Bartlett is going to have one to his millions of people that watch him weekly that are now going to be salivating like, oh my God, I want a robot in my house as well. I would only want a little one, a miniature.
I don't want one. Okay, I don't want one. This is another story that it's not funny, but it was like, wow. I'll just play it.
A disturbing incident that sparked widespread outrage. A hairstylist at Draft Picks Barbershop in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, forcibly cut a 10-year-old girl's braids following a dispute over a $25 late fee. The child and her mother arrived just 10 minutes past their 5 p.m. appointment. To trigger the salon's late policy, but not, they argued, enough to justify what came next. Surveillance footage shows a heated exchange unfolding after the mother, who is 6 months pregnant, declined to pay the additional charge. What followed shocked onlookers. The stylist retrieved a pair of scissors and began cutting the child's newly braided hair while her mother and the girl tried desperately to stop her.
What the hell?
Mother's hand was reportedly injured. The grandmother of the young girl, Concota Singleton, posted video evidence online and condemned the stylist's behavior, saying, "You can't take the law into your own hands." Singleton further explained that the appointment had already been rescheduled once, by the stylist, and the family had paid in full prior to the incident. Other clients and barbers eventually intervened to defuse the confrontation, but not before the child's hair had been partially cut and the mother left shaken. Draft Picks Barbershop has since confirmed the stylist is no longer with the business. Owner TJ Malveaux issued a formal apology, stating, "We do not condone or tolerate the actions that this stylist displayed. The safety, comfort, and satisfaction of our clients are our top priorities."
I don't know why these videos are.
The incident has ignited fierce discussion about professionalism, accountability, and the ethical boundaries in customer service.
Yeah.
A child, you know?
Yeah.
She's yanking on her hair.
The whole time, that's what got me. The child is in all the thing in the melee, her whole head, and it's just been done, so her head is in pain. $25 late fee. And you were 10 minutes late.
10 minutes late.
And I get late. I understand you've got busy to be
You ain't got a yank on no one's hair.
But you're not yanking. And also, the stylist had already rescheduled and the family have paid in full. So you're just now being out of order.
I think already, especially in those circumstances, you have already done that. You didn't pay them when you were rescheduling. So even the 10-minute lateness, you can just be like, I haven't totally be. And once you said it, okay, you guys were 10 minutes late, it's $25. From when the mum is just like, I'm not doing it, that isn't the time for you that you have spent your time plaiting somebody's. It's a child.
Right.
Now I'm going to cut off the braids that I've done. I can see the mum is 6 months pregnant. You have to be mad. But just know after I've given birth, it's me and you.
Yeah.
Like, you better be left and right wherever you go, because absolutely not. No. Like, losing your job is the best scenario that you could have, really, for what I'm going to do to you.
And that's another thing. Everyone's saying, I've never been to that, because I think I've never been to the hairdresser and seen on time for my appointment. And it's that, because I mean, I worked in the salon and we prided ourselves on trying to be as on time as possible. But things happen, and I do understand late fees because, especially when the black salon has got the reputation where you come in and you're either late or the hairstyle is late, and it's kind of like an agreed thing. Done with that. If you want to instigate rules because people are taking the piss, that's fine, but it does not escalate to this. This is $25. It is not. It's not the bill, and they have already paid. It's not even like they haven't paid for the hairstyle already. But I think I saw someone. I think someone said that they're starting to implement rules when it comes to all these kind of. This is the actual salon, but the wave of bad hairstylists out there and the bad behavior, the poor customer service. They're starting to look at how to implement actual conduct and rules.
Trading standards are literally cracking down on it, because also as a consumer you still have rights. Like that, you attacked her. Like you can't just be like, well, you're not being paid. Thieves don't get beaten up when they steal. Like we're not in that world. Like you can't. It's not like back in the day when you could lose a hand for stealing. Like we don't have that jungle justice. You can't cut off her hair and try and fight her mum. Like what type of if the barber wasn't there, and look how big the barber was as well. If the barber wasn't there and the shop was empty, that woman would have gone ham on those two.
Yeah.
Like, nah, she's crazy.
And it's wicked to cut. We're not even talking you cutting the girls. You're taking it out. Come on.
A child.
Yeah, come on.
For $25, you're going to lose your job and get your ass beat in a couple of months. Like, is it really worth $25?
Exactly. Just a quick one as well. Artists print giant rolls to show how long tech terms are. Talking about trade standards and terms and conditions. Israeli artist Dima Yarovinsky. Oh, I didn't. Do you know what? I didn't even see that. Has visualized the sheer scale.
Who's the artist?
Israeli. I didn't actually clock that she was Israeli, but Dima Yarovinsky has visualized the sheer scale of legal agreements users accept when signing up with apps like Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat by printing their full terms of service onto huge A4 length paper rolls. It's looking at look how short WhatsApp is, Google, Tinder, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, and Instagram. The terms and conditions that we don't read.
I mean, I don't know what I've signed.
Honestly.
I have no idea what they are able to do with any of these things. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It is actually crazy. But yes.
Tim Simmer is asking for the details of Farrah's t-shirt.
Beyonce tour Lemonade 2016.
Merch on or something like that. You're gonna have to find
somebody's asking, ladies, before we go, what are your thoughts on the power outage in Europe this week in Spain? You see that?
Yeah.
I didn't have an opinion on it. What happened?
I only know because I have friends that live there, but I didn't really look into it other than like one of my friends was able to, her husband works in another city, and just once the kind of batteries were all going, she was actually really scared for how long it was going to last. It was just her and her two sons out in Spain, but she did manage to, somebody else's car was running, so she was able to charge up her devices to get through. But I don't know what happened, like why it took place, what it means. Could it happen again?
Well, let me have a quick look and see if we can find anything. I just saw this video. It was funny, just to end up on something funny. I saw a couple that this guy.
What about the one that I put in the group?
I haven't seen it.
Oh yeah. Yes, I saw this video. I was literally like, "This is a madness. Is it really ever that deep?"
I don't know why he did that. Power outage, and let me.
Like, it's just whatever you're arguing over, run round and go through the door, like through very stupid.
Very, very stupid. Like, what are you beefing over?
You just clicked off a bit.
Yeah, it was that was it. It was just that. I'm trying to find the one that Farrah issued.
Okay. In the meantime, I can't remember. I think it was Peaceful Peace that put us on last week to going down the rabbit hole of the soft white underbelly. And I carried that on, and BJ Investigates is now my latest favorite channel. I think I've watched almost everything that is on there. That has been constant. People have been walking into the living room like, "Oh, not her again." Like I've devoured that whole situation and Amanda's story and Lima and her sisters, the twins, the conservatorship, to Britney, to Diddy, to Justin. The melee of there is a set of people, Lou Taylor and a few others, running all of these artists and taking their money. I was literally like, nah, this is crazy. This is seeing all of the dots being connected. I'm like, oh my God, this is actually nuts. And Cardi B is in there as well. Like, so again, there's a few people to just look out for their trajectory and how it's going to go, because they're all under the same management stuff, and Cardi's there as well. And it's like, okay, yeah, it's a tad scary. I was watching it like, oh my God, these are names that we all need to know. So yeah, we can get into that more next week, but thank you.
Let me go back to that just so we can end. Guys, stop sending us things, because you know we got to go. We got stories. You know we get bitten. This is police officer gets salty after being issued a parking ticket. Let's go.
I'm giving you a ticket.
For what?
For one, you parked illegally, and two, your lights aren't on.
You can clearly see I'm officer. I'm your own official police business.
What does that mean?
Police business. Wherever I want.
No, you're parked illegally.
If
you don't have your lights on, how are you at a call? Your lights aren't on.
They don't always need to be on.
When did that happen?
Why would my lights need to be on?
Because you said you were at a call. You were on a
official
call.
Police business.
No,
Don't
you
put words
just
in my mouth.
no. You said you got a call.
I said I was on official police business.
Oh, what does that mean?
Exactly what I said. Official police business.
Okay, sir. Just let me do my job, okay?
You're not giving me a ticket.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
You can't do. I'm clearly a police officer. We're on the same side.
No. Parked illegally. That does not give you a right, because you're a police officer, to park illegally.
Ma'am, I was on official police business.
I understand what you're saying, but you are parked illegally. Your lights aren't on. When you're at official police business, your lights are supposed to be on.
Look, I get this.
Brave.
I don't know what you went through
I'm
or
just
what
doing my
got
job.
you here. Now that you have this little bit of power, you think you can exercise it on it. But I promise you're exercising it on the wrong person.
I'm just doing my job.
You're not doing your job. If you were doing your job, you would have left the police car alone. Clearly, I'm a police officer. Clearly, this is a police car. You have no reason to be issuing me a ticket.
Okay. You're getting a ticket. Anything else I can do for you?
Oh, there's a lot that is going to transpire from this. I promise.
Okay, sir. That's a threat. I'm giving you a ticket.
That was a threat.
For what?
that was definitely a threat.
A lot is going to transpire.
What makes me laugh as well is he's got a cup of coffee in his hand. Was your official police business that you went to the coffee shop?
Getting coffee and nuts.
No, it was.
But she's brave. I wouldn't do that with an American police officer. But boy.
All hell's power to her.
He said to her, I don't know what's happened to you in your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tasty wretch, you know. Tasty.
Piss. All right, guys. I think we have to wrap it there. 20 past.
Yeah.
9 in the chat, but only 69 likes. Thank you, Yvonne. Boop the like button before you exit.
You tell them, Yvonne.
And okay, guys, you haven't. We're going to shame you. Whilst you lot are figuring it out, you lot think that your dicks are big for a certain reason.
What?
Who?
Changes in your body during specific times of the year.
Mine is a thing called summer penis.
Fluctuations in the shape or
Is
size
it?
of your body parts.
Yeah.
Many men notice this. Just look at all these social media posts. As urologists, we often hear patients describe anecdotal experiences and apprehensions regarding sexual function or how their body reacts to certain environments. Now we know that scrotum is actually temperature sensitive and it actually drops down when it's hot and actually creeps up when it's cold. And there's an evolutionary purpose behind this. Your body is programmed to preserve heat and energy. Your testicles retract and get closer to the rest of the
when we get to the summer.
There's this coined term or phenomenon called the summer penis. In an article in Male magazine, the journalist actually referenced this term when she noticed men sharing their anecdotal experience of how summer brings on bigger penises, bigger erections, and larger testicles. So, is this real? Now, with respect to the summer penis, although it's not formally studied, many urologists acknowledge that there are definitely some changes in warmer environments. However, this is more of an appearance rather than an actual increase in penile size.
I think that's where we need to leave it.
How the hell did you get this? No, wait. How the hell did you find this video is what I want to know. It's got 72 views. It has 72 views, and it was posted 8 months ago. What the fuck were you doing that this has come on your feed?
It was served to me. I don't know.
Summer penis. Why is it on your feed?
I don't know. It came up. I was like, that's funny.
I bet it did come up.
Well,
it's the 72 views, isn't it? 50 of them are AKs.
Because I was cracking up at summer penis. I've never heard of summer penis. I've never heard of summer penis.
Oh, God.
I never knew about penis, and I saw it. I was like, "Oh, what's that?"
See, the algorithm knows. Oh my God!
Thank you, my darling Yvonne. You know what? I was doing my job.
Well, I mean, men in the chat, let us know if this is a thing. I didn't know, but that would make sense why people in hotter countries have bigger peens.
Do we know
or the appearance?
But when they do the chart thing, it's generally all of the black countries are on there, and then it goes, and then the Asians ones go into the last parts. I mean, it's over there as well. I don't know, but there's a thing.
The stereotypes, man.
Nonsense for you.
Oh my God! There you go. Serena said no. It's not. That's not why. No. Okay. I don't know.
Thank you for joining us. I hope you did like, comment, and subscribe after that. I hope you're sharing this. Thank you. There was lots of people in the chat. We need lots more likes and penile eugenics. Honestly, absolutely true. Guys, we'll be back next week. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Serena says she's just come back from Bali and a note Nella.
I mean, maybe you also need sun and melanin. Like, maybe that's the combo. I don't know.
I was giving it like, guys, allow it. Summer penis, yeah. I don't want to hear any man say, yeah, man, I've got to look at my summer penis. I'll be out there walking my dick first. Like, get out of here, man. Yeah.
Oh, Lord. All right. Next week.
Bye.
Stay black.
Bye, guys.